Anthony.
Hey, Ron, can you hear us?
Ron, test 1, 2.
Yes, sir.
Test 3, 4, got you.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Next to a municipal dump, and now they want to.
You're right. It's absolutely. Shit happens.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to call to order the regular city commission meeting for May 7th, 2024 at 7:01 PM. Could we please have roll call?
Commissioner Hudak,
Here.
Commissioner Parnes, Commissioner Preston,
Here.
Vice Mayor Drosky,
Here.
Mayor Gans.
Here, will you please stand for a moment of silence and our pledge of allegiance?
Recording in progress.
Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If we could have approval of the city commission meeting minutes from the lunchtime workshop meeting minutes of April 5th, 2024, and the regular city commission meeting minutes of April 16th, 2024.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hudak, seconded by Commissioner Preston. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed. Acknowledgement of our city board meeting minutes, our Fireman's Pension Board meeting minutes of February 26th. Education Advisory Board meeting minutes of March 6th, 2024. Hillsborough Inlet District meeting minutes of March 11th, 2024. Code Compliance meeting minutes of March 12th. Community Redevelopment Agency meeting minutes of March 12th. Our Community Appearance Board meeting minutes of March 27th and April 10th.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hudak, seconded by Commissioner Preston. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? The approval of our agenda tonight for May 7th, 2024. I would like one change if possible. I know we have a presentation tonight. I'd like to move up item number 13 to be discussed immediately after that presentation, so it's all fresh in our memories.
Motion to approve with the agenda change. Second.
Motion for Commissioner Hudak, seconded by Commissioner Preston. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, Madam Clerk.
For those attending via Zoom online, wishing to speak under public comment or on an item that's open for public input, please click raise hand at the bottom under the reactions tab, and your audio will be unmuted when you are recognized by Mayor Gans. For those attending via Zoom by telephone, please press *9 to raise your hand, and your audio will be unmuted when you are recognized by Mayor Gans. Please make sure your audio is unmuted on your end by pressing *6. Thank you.
Thank you. We are honored here tonight to have the Honorable Harold Pryor, our Broward County State Attorney, who is here with us tonight. He has taken on, and his department has taken on an incredible initiative with BSO for the Broward State Attorney's Office SAFE program, which is Stop Abuse, Fight Exploitation. And this initiative is to fight human trafficking. Human trafficking is a use of force, fraud, and coercion to exploit another person for material gain. Human trafficking is an intolerable public health and safety issue in which criminals exploit the most vulnerable in our community. Human trafficking is a form of modern slavery that claims nearly 30 million victims worldwide. Florida is the third largest hub in the United States plagued with the crime of human trafficking. A successful response to human trafficking requires a coordinated, community-wide effort, including homeowners, landlords, tenants, and business owners. Every individual, family, community, and organization can contribute to enhancing human trafficking awareness, prevention, and response through education. Now, therefore, I, Bill Gans, Mayor of the City of Deerfield Beach, do hereby proclaim the ongoing commitment of our city, along with any and all resources at our disposal, to collaborate with the Office of the State Attorney, Broward County, to work toward eradicating the criminal behavior associated with human trafficking in our community. State Attorney Pryor, would you mind? Thank you.
Mr. Mayor and members of the commission, and to the citizens of Deerfield Beach, I am very proud to launch our SAFE initiative. As Mayor again said, it stands for Stop Abuse and Fight Exploitation. I am so happy and so thankful that the City of Deerfield Beach is partnering with us so enthusiastically to combat this issue. Working together, we can fight human trafficking in our community from every angle. We can shine a light on those who seek to harm the most vulnerable people of our society, and we can shut down this evil of exploitation. We are already working with police to arrest human traffickers and put them in prison. We already help victims and survivors of human trafficking. We have members of our law enforcement community here, Broward Sheriff's Department. They've been great partners in our initiatives in combating human trafficking. We have a task force where we're combating it, and we decided to add this element to that. And that is to combat what we call the illicit massage businesses. And so we're teaming up with local governments and municipalities, much like Deerfield Beach. And we're looking at those type of businesses that we all recognize. They're in a plaza or a strip mall. They say they offer massages, but you would not buy a gift card for your wife or your daughter or your mother for that matter. And so we're partnering together so we can identify and report and evict these types of businesses that try to look legitimate, but they're actually being used as a front for human trafficking. And so not only human trafficking, for labor trafficking and sex trafficking of vulnerable people. And so by working together, we can eradicate the criminal activity and make it difficult for these illicit business activities. And so for more information, I want to implore each and every one of you and members of our community that if you see suspicious activity, please call our hotline. Our hotline is 954-831-7487. I want to thank you for your support. This is a twofold, threefold approach. We'll be working with law enforcement, local law enforcement agencies throughout the county, but also working with local municipalities, their code enforcement divisions to combat this issue, and then also working with local business owners to help them come up with ways to get rid of these individuals who would exploit the most vulnerable of our society. So I want to thank each and every one of you for your commitment. I want to thank the City of Deerfield Beach for their commitment, and let's fight to push back against human trafficking, and let's fight to push back against abuse and exploitation of the most vulnerable of our society. So thank you so much, and God bless you all.
Thank you.
And thank you for the proclamation as well.
Tonight, we also give a recognition to International Compost Awareness Week. The U.S. Compost Research and Education Foundation, along with other countries across the world, declared the first full week of May to be the annual International Compost Awareness Week. Composting is an effective form of waste reduction, reuse, and recycling, and since organic materials make up approximately 30% of the material going to landfills, Composting is becoming one of the primary methods communities use to reach waste diversion goals. Composting is a way of returning organic resources to the soil and a way of conserving water during extreme drought or flooding conditions, reducing water consumption and non-point pollution, and a proven method of decreasing the dependence on chemical fertilizers and decreasing erosion. Materials such as yard trimmings, vegetable cuttings, and food scraps have all been composted and converted into a beneficial product known as compost. The city of Deerfield Beach is committed to reducing the amount of organic waste that goes to the landfill through the DFB compost program and has successfully diverted over 24,000 pounds of food waste to date. International Compost Awareness Week is a publicity and education initiative to showcase compost production and demonstrate compost use. Tonight we have here the Mad Hatter. I saw her with her hat on there, but we have April Dubois from Filthy Organics, who partners with us to accept this proclamation. So now, therefore, I, Bill Gans, the mayor of the city of Deerfield Beach, in recognition hereof, hereby proclaim May 5th through the 11th, 2024 as International Compost Awareness Week.
Well, we are very, very thankful for the city of Deerfield Beach for contributing and taking this serious, because it is a serious thing and it's a nice reusable resource that I think is very important for our earth and for our future. So thank you so much.
Thank you. City Attorney.
Item number 3 is a presentation by Waste Management regarding the County Land Use Plan Amendment, LUPA, and variance request to increase the size and height of the landfill at Monarch Hill.
Mayor, Commissioners, thank you for your time. My name is Chris Carey. I've got Bill Laystrom here with me. As you know, we've met with some of you already to give you a briefing on this, but we really appreciate the opportunity to talk about Monarch Hill Landfill, what it is, and what we're trying to do with it. So we've got about a 3-minute video that kind of gives a quick overview. We've been giving tours to some of the residents that are around landfill to give them a real firsthand look at what is going on out there and explain to them what we're trying to do with the landfill. It's been there for a long time. It's filling up, it's running out of space. And so we're at a point where we need to do something else with it. And it's been a great response from that. And those of you that haven't been able to come out and make it on a tour, we'd really like to get you out there and show you the facts and show you what we're trying to do. So if we could, we'll just queue up a quick video. Then I'll run through a few slides and then take some questions.
Sure.
Maybe. Want me to dance? Where'd the little girl go? Comes back, I'll dance. Feel like Tom Brady at the roast last night. I didn't really watch it. I just watched the highlights. Should we punt? Okay. How about the rest of the presentation?
So sorry.
It was the highlight too. All right. I think everybody knows what Monarch Hill is. Okay, you can go ahead. Can you go to the next slide? Okay. The reason we're here, Monarch Hill is a 382 acre site. Everybody knows where it is. It's permitted to a final height of 225 feet. And as of January of this year, it's got about 6 years left. Monarch Hill takes about 5,000 tons a day of material, 6 days a week. What people don't usually understand is that 90% of the material coming into Monarch Hill, it's not household waste. It's not the organic material that this woman here is trying to compost. It's post-recycled C&D material and bulky waste. So we have 2 recycling centers for C&D is construction and demolition material. We have 2 centers, one in Deerfield Beach, right across Wiles Road from the landfill, and one down in Davie, where we take in all of the C&D material, we process it and recycle everything that we can either sell, reuse, or give away. And the remaining balance is what goes into Monarch Hill, along with the bulky waste that's collected throughout the county, which is majority unrecyclable. And then in addition to that, we take in about 10% of what we take in is that household waste or municipal solid waste fraction. And it's also been a local solution for a very, very long time for hurricane events and storm debris. Go ahead. So the proposal that Waste Management's coming forth with to Broward County is to increase the capacity for construction and demolition debris and bulky waste. And it's really 3 components. One is to develop the 24-acre site where the former waste to energy project sat, right along Wiles Road there. Number 2 is to increase the height from the 225 feet to 325 feet. And as part of that, number 3 is to cease the acceptance of that organic household waste, municipal solid waste. That's the stuff that we throw out each and every day at our homes, right? And that has the things that attract birds, the things that lead to odors and things like that in it. And we've said in return for that, so that we can have a long-term solution for the construction and demolition debris and the bulky waste, we will transport that waste to another landfill that we have that's about 100 miles north of here. It's in Okeechobee County. So the combination of these 2 things will provide for about 16 years more life at the present rates and present recycling. Now, recycling has been rising in that C&D. We've been doing better and better with that. So I expect that it'll give us a little bit more life than that, but that's what it'll do. We'll take out that household waste and continue to manage that post-recycled fraction of the waste. Go ahead, please. All right, and this is kind of a busy slide, but what I wanted to show you is that of the total waste stream in Broward County, 43% of it is that construction and demolition waste. Another 10% of it is vegetative waste, palm fronds, and things like that. And you can see all the smaller fractions there. A lot of those get bulked into what we call municipal solid waste or household waste. But this construction and demolition waste has no place else to go in Broward County. There are 3 facilities that process it and recycle it. 2 of them are WM facilities and 1 is a competitor's. But it's that residue that's left over that we have to have some place to take. Go ahead, please. And really, I touched on this. This is just a picture with some words that talk about the C&D recycling facility. This is the one in Davie. In Deerfield, right across the street from the landfill, where we process that material, removing between 50 and 60% of the volume, and that residual is what goes into the landfill. Go ahead. So the other thing that people tend to forget about in good times is storm debris. Back in 2017, we had a storm that hit Broward County in the fall. This landfill went from taking 5,000 or 6,000 tons a day to taking 12,000 tons a day. We used up an entire year's worth of capacity in 6 months at this landfill. And if not for having this landfill, where was this material going to go? It would have to be transferred to out of the upstate landfills out of county, increased expense, and most significantly more time that material is going to lie on the streets. Because after a storm, we all know the trucking industry dries up. There's no trucks available. We have a terrible time moving that, so. What you see here in this picture, I just want to show you all of that. That brown material is storm debris that was ground and mulched, and we've since reused that, excavated that and reused that for landfill cover. Go ahead. Okay, this is the notch, as we call it. This is the 24-acre piece, and not to bore you with the technical details, but it's currently zoned for electrical generation. For 25 years, there was a waste to energy facility and incinerator on that site, so it has what's called electrical generation designation. So the only thing that can presently go on that site is a power plant, another incinerator or some other power plant. So we need to develop that site, and what we're trying to do as part of this process is change the land use and zoning, get it to an A6 zoning so that we can then finish off the landfill across Wiles Road there and even it up. Go ahead. This is just a visual that shows you the current permitted landfill with everything built out except for that parcel. And you can see we're bound on the north by Wiles Road, the west by the Turnpike, the east by Power Line. And then you've got Florida Power and Light has a giant switch yard down there in the corner. So the landfill can't go beyond its present borders. This is the last acreage that can be developed at the landfill until somebody comes up with the idea of bridging over Power Line Road, but I don't think that's going to happen. And so this is what it would look like with the land use change, really just finishing that off. Okay. That kind of finishes up the talking points on that notch, and then talk about the height increase. So right now it's permitted, as I said, for 225 feet. As it sits today, it's somewhere at around 210 feet. And it's constructed like a pyramid. So every foot you go up, you move 3 feet closer to the center. And this means that the only area that would reach that 325 feet would be kind of that small area in the center. And we've got some renderings to show you that it doesn't look all that bad. You can argue about whether they're exactly accurate or not, but that was the artist rendering that they came up with. All right. And here they are. We took, Wiles from the corner of Wiles Road at 225 and then had them projected up to 325. And the reason it doesn't look as significant is because that area as it goes up is getting much, much further away from you. And then again at Independence Bay, the same thing. Go ahead. This is just another one with the present day. If you look closely, you can see the remnants of the old waste energy plant there in the right-hand corner, and then in the currently permitted and proposed, those are out. Go ahead. Really, just another set of pictures. Go ahead. So why do this, right? That's the question. What if we don't do this? What happens? Well, that 5,000 tons a day has to go someplace, first of all. There's no local disposal for storm debris in Broward County. We're going to start diverting waste out of the landfill later this year because we simply don't have enough room to operate. One other thing that I didn't get into in much detail is there is a landfill gas to energy facility in the northwest corner there. That is in permitted airspace. That will be demolished in January for airspace if we're not able to go up and fill this notch in. Right now, we're generating enough power to power about 9,000 homes. So what's going to happen is we're going to take that 5,000 tons a day, we're going to put it on trucks, and we're going to transport it to Okeechobee. It's almost 200 miles round trip. We'll put 7,500 tractor trailer loads a month on the roads. We'll burn 3.5 million gallons of diesel fuel a year, and we will generate 40 million tons of greenhouse gas in those trucks. So while people may say they don't like the landfill, I don't think the landfill is the best option. In reality, this proposal takes that landfill, turns it into a post-recycling disposal site, and prevents the combustion of that fossil fuel, the emission of that greenhouse gas, and the traffic congestion on our roads. Go ahead. So what does an approval mean? So if we're successful in this, we'll have storm debris for the foreseeable future available at Monarch Hill, securing the needs of the county. We've said we'll take out the municipal solid waste fraction, the organic fraction. We'll have continued safe and economical disposal for C&D and bulky waste. We'll have ongoing operations of that renewable energy facility, and it'll prevent all of that truck traffic and associated emissions from that. Go ahead. Sorry, we didn't have the video, guys. It was really good. With that, I can take any questions, but would really welcome anyone who wants to take a tour to let us know. We'll be around. We'll take names if anybody wants that.
Thank you, Commissioner Hudak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've been on a tour of the facility and you guys do a wonderful job, I must say. But my question is where is the foresight? Where is the forethought? In 2040, if you do this in 2040, there's no space left. What then? And you know, you guys are the experts in, you know, in waste management and waste disposal. And I have not seen anybody tell me what the long-term game plan is for resolving this issue. As you know, there's other initiatives for affordable housing, and right now we're in a building boom. So all of that construction waste is going to go to this facility. If we have a storm, all of that's going to go to this facility. So what happens when it's filled? Those trucks that you just mentioned are going to be back on the road unless there is some kind of a game plan that I'm not aware of, that nobody has told me about. And that's my concern is we're always saying, oh, we've got to look out for the future. You know, we've got to take care of the next generation. And I don't see any proposals that say, hey, this is what we're doing to correct the situation.
Yeah, great question. And I appreciate you asking that because I neglected to talk about a couple of things. One of the things we're doing, I'm going to talk about the household fraction first, okay? The 175,000 tons of household waste that we're going to pull out. We're going to transport that to another landfill. At that landfill, we've just broken ground on an $80 million renewable energy facility. We're going to put that waste in the landfill. We're going to generate methane gas as that waste decomposes. We're going to collect that methane gas and purify it to pipeline quality methane gas. We're then going to inject it back into the pipeline there. And the beauty of that is we have the ability to put it in the pipeline at our landfill in Okeechobee and take it out of the pipeline at our hauling company here in Broward County and fuel our natural gas fueled trucks with it. So that's what we're doing with that fraction. Now, at the same time, we're building a new state-of-the-art recycling facility out in Pembroke Pines. We're in the final stages of permitting on that, and we're going to break ground this summer. So that will then increase recycling rates. It'll increase our capacity there. And, you know, we expect recycling rates will rise as a result of that. The third thing is on the C&D and the bulky waste. I told you we just about 18 months ago opened our new C&D recycling facility in Deerfield Beach. We just opened another one down in Miami, and we continue to build out that network as we can acquire sites and do that. So I think what the answer is you're going to see over the next 25 or 30 years, those recycling rates are going to continue to climb. The technology is going to continue to advance, and hopefully people are going to continue to change their behavior. And you're going to see less and less need for that landfill disposal. Are we going to get to the point of zero disposal? Not in the near-term future. I don't see it. But I think we're heading in that direction every day. If you look at where we were 5 years ago, certainly 10 years ago, we've been on a constant path to get there. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Commissioner Preston?
Thank you, Mayor. If you remember when you went through the presentation with me, I asked you a question at the very end. That question was, did you guys during your presentation anticipate the feelings of the residents, the safety concerns? And you told me what you just said in the presentation related to greenhouse gas. But I didn't hear anything where you said equal to the problem that you have with the landfill, we also have done research in this manner, and we can address, you know, how this will affect the resident. I didn't hear that. I still have that concern. The people that live in close proximity to your proposal, how do you guarantee their safety? How do you know that, I mean, how can we be assured that there are no concerns? That you told me this is what happens with the landfill. Here's the amount of years that's left. And here's the solution if we could get the zone change. I haven't heard anything about the residents and their safety. And I asked you that, if you remember, at the very end of
Yeah,
the
you did.
presentation. And that was the,
Yeah, thank you.
that's where I was going with
And
that.
I didn't add those slides in here. I was afraid I was going to get too long, but I'm happy to get into that. And we do get into that in depth when we take people on the tour, but I'll give you the quick version of that now. Appreciate the question. So there's really a couple of things people worry about: what comes up into the air and what goes down into the ground. And so the landfill is constructed with a double liner system, 3 layers each. So it's 6 layers of liner. We monitor the center of that to make sure nothing's getting through the first liner. And then we monitor the perimeter of the landfill with a series of groundwater wells, both all 3, shallow, medium, and deep, all the way around the landfill, to make sure that nothing is escaping the landfill in that fashion. And we're very, very good at that. We collect any rainwater that gets into the landfill. It's collected in what's called the leachate system, and then it's pumped off for treatment where it's completely cleaned up to near drinking water standards. Then as far as any potential air emissions or any gas escaping the landfill, we have a series of some 500 gas collection wells, even on this landfill. Now, when we take out the household waste fraction, that gas generation is going to drop off dramatically. We know that. There'll still be some from the bit of organic that's in the construction and demolition waste, but that will drop off. But we collect all of that gas. We run it through our renewable energy facility that I mentioned to you that is in danger of being decommissioned. And then if there's any excess that we can't run through that, we flare that off for safety. Now, we monitor the surface of that landfill in several different ways, but one of them is every quarter, we have to, by law, by permit, have somebody monitor the entire surface of the landfill. And it's literally somebody with an instrument walking the entire landfill. It takes them a week, looking for any leaks of methane gas or anything that might be getting out of that landfill down to the single part per million level. And if any are detected, that has to be fixed immediately. It has to be reported to the state. So that's very highly regulated. And then in addition, we're starting to do flyovers with planes to do samples on that. So thank you for that. In the future, we'll add that in.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Trosky.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I would like to thank all of the residents for coming out tonight and listening to this. I hope, Mayor, that they have an opportunity to speak before this item is over. The problem I have with this proposal is that it's putting the cart before the horse, and we've discussed this. At the very beginning of your presentation, you said the landfill has been around for a long time. And that's exactly the point. The landfill has been there around a long time. When that landfill was built, we didn't have the development that we have today there. Landfills were meant to be on the periphery of residents, not right in the middle. As Broward County has grown, we've grown around the landfill. And now that development has grown with the expectation of the 225-foot limit. Now it seems like the goalposts are being moved. Now we want 325 feet. Or what are we going to want after 325? 425, 525? It just seems like the goal keeps getting moved. And as Commissioner Hudak stated, there should have been a long-range plan thought out by Waste Management. The residents shouldn't be penalized for this. There's 2 things that are currently in the works. There's the Solid Waste the Solid Waste Authority, which has not made its findings yet as to what for a countywide solution to solid waste. And the county itself has not updated its solid waste element. So until those 2 things are done, I think we're premature here to penalizing the residents. Why are we going to, for 6 years, burden the residents when you have alternative solutions that you could have been thinking about in the meantime? That's a long question.
I'm not sure where the question is, but
The question is, where was Waste Management knew that this problem was coming?
oh,
And it
okay.
takes you years to permit.
That's right.
So
So-
you're permitting
Great.
now, you're planning now to permit later to
So-
down the road. So
I thought you were aware, but perhaps not. We actually started this process 5 years ago with the county. This very process, because we could see this coming, and we didn't want to be in a position where we got to the point where we would have to take the area where our renewable energy facility is. We wanted to be ahead of the curve, and partially because of COVID, partially because of some other delay tactics that were at play, we kept getting delayed. So I will tell you that we have been working on this for 5 years. And
It-
now we're coming to a head where we're at the point where we're going to have to start pushing volume out and making some tough decisions because we've hit these delays.
But my point is, why should the residents be penalized because of those delays? They bought knowing that the height limit was 225, not 325. We've moved the goalpost on them.
Well, all I can tell you is that we have been trying to get a solution in place with the county for 5 years. This is not a new approach for us. And I will tell you that, and I heard you about 425, 525, whatever. The geometry of the pyramid that I talked about dictates that it won't be any higher than that.
Well, I'm not a mathematician. I don't know that, but we were told all along that it would never go above 225, and now we're here talking 325. So I just don't see that. I just don't think it's fair to the residents.
Okay.
Thank you. Couple questions I have. How much MSW is going in there now? You said it was 175 tons?
175,000 per year.
175,000 tons per year.
That's correct.
And
Well,
that,
let me rephrase that.
Sure.
That's a cap that we have on the MSW. So it's somewhere between 150 and 175.
okay, so it's about 170. You guys limit what goes in.
Correct.
Okay, but you don't eliminate it. And what you're saying is with this proposal, by doing this, you're going to eliminate it
That's
entirely.
correct.
Okay. And you said that obviously you've been planning this for 5 years. You guys plan ahead. All these things
We
you
try.
do,
We try.
all these things you do, you plan ahead with. So you've been trying to work on this. And to the point of the vice mayor, you know what Broward County is trying to do, and they're working on a master plan. And I'm trying to understand why the urgency now to do this, knowing that according to you, we have 6 years left remaining before it's at capacity. And despite the fact that we are working together as a group in Broward County and in partnership with people like your company, why are we trying to do this now? What is the urgency?
Great question, and I appreciate it. So the math says we have 6 years left, but you can't run the car at 100 miles an hour all the way to the finish line and stop it there. And so we're going to have to start backing the volume down in this fall. So that's why the urgency is now. We're going to take volume that comes in from the county, the bulky waste, and we're going to have to start transporting it and passing that cost back to the residents. And October is when we're targeting that. So that's one. And the second piece, I understand that there's this solid waste working group. I'm very familiar with that. I spent 25 years in the waste to energy business. I've been in the waste business my whole life. What we're proposing to take into that hill is stuff that has already been through the recycling facilities, right? We've already done the best that we can do at taking out anything that we can sell, reuse, or give away. And so there has to be a place for it. There has to be a place for it today until there's some magic that happens on that.
So you also talked about this storm debris goes in there, and this the reason you need to have this and have this open is because it's the only place where storm debris can go. Is that correct?
It's the only private place. The county has the big landfill, as I'm sure you know.
Okay. So that is considered MSW, isn't it?
No,
It's not?
No.
So
There
trees,
is
vegetation,
no, that's
anything
not
like that
MSW.
doesn't
No,
count
no,
towards it. Okay.
no.
So that doesn't count towards it.
That's not MSW.
So you guys are you're knowing you're going to have to back down right now. You're going to have to start tapering off what's going in there because of everything. So you can see the future. So here's a little bit of my problem. And one of the joys of being up here for a really long time, I've been around to see this when it was the old Resource Recovery Board, and we went through all of that. Your last expansion, you had an agreement with Coconut Creek as part of that allowed you to expand in that northeast corner, which was that you would cease putting MSW in that. Was it only capped and not ceased?
That's not completely accurate. So what the agreement with Coconut Creek says is that there will be no MSW above 225 feet.
Okay, so you would still take MSW there, but it's
Well-
not going to be above 225.
Correct. What we're saying is we would take it all out now, be done with it.
Why aren't you doing that now? Why does that have to be a caveat? If we're working together, we're trying to do something that is not going to impact the residents. Why is it the carrot that we're chasing to give you this is to have you take out MSW? Clearly you have a solution for that, because otherwise you wouldn't be offering it.
Mhm.
You plan ahead so you know where it's going to go. Why aren't you doing it without this expansion? Because I would imagine if you have the ability to do that now,
Mhm.
that's going to probably give you some longevity there that you don't currently have. Because as you said, it's 175,000 tons that are going in there. You've got a solution for it. Why aren't you doing it?
Well, I would ask you the same question. Why aren't you guys supporting our proposal for us doing nothing? Just out of the goodness of your heart.
Well,
I mean,
I
it's
can
a-
tell you
it's a
why.
two-way street, right?
Let me tell you why. It is a two-way street. And I've been on that street, and my problem is I've been run over by your vehicle in this two-way street negotiation. And I'm going to give you an example. Back with the Resource Recovery Board, I'll give you a little history lesson for the residents out there. 2011, the highest we had with our tipping fees and everything that Broward County topped on it, our tipping fees were $99.20 per ton. That's what it was. September of 2012, it got reduced to $72.59, all going through Waste Management, going through Monarch Hill. July 2023, when bids started to go out to have this explored where our contract was up, the price came in at $67.93. Huge difference. Great savings for the residents from $99.20 to $67.93. Except the one thing that happened that changed the entire landscape is competition for the very first time. Sun Bergeron came in and their price came in at $43.25 based on Miramar's contract that we went ahead. Miramar and Southwest Ranches, is that correct? That we piggybacked on. So I was sold a bill of goods by Waste Management in Broward County that $99.20 was awful, $72.59 is fantastic. It was, big difference. Magically, a year later, $67.93. Keep in mind, these are people that plan these things out very long in advance. Competition comes on board. We go to $41.25 offering from somebody else. Magically, when that hit, Waste Management comes back and goes, guess what? I can do it for $41.48. Find out what the lowest bidder is, your competition, and then go a little bit under. And that's what Waste Management did. Thinking this is a two-way street and we work together, this is what comes up. Magically, the pencils got sharpened despite all this planning, and you guys go to $41.48. We rejected that, by the way, because you don't do that to the competition that comes in and gets you off of $67.93. You don't screw them over $2 a ton, though there were some people that said we should have done that. We went with the people that got us to the dance, that got us the better price in the first place, not going with you guys. What did you end up doing years later? You bought them out. Competition eliminated. 2011, that we talk about it being Mount Trashmore, Monarch Hill. It's actually called Monarch Renewable Energy Plant. According to your brochure that went out in 2013, as a big promotion. You guys renamed it in 2011 on Earth Day. That was a big deal. Monarch Renewable Energy Park. 2013, one of their selling points for us to go along with them, and I'm going to quote, and this is from Bill Roberts from Waste Management, 17 of the waste energy facilities in the United States generate enough power for 750,000 homes, which is a significant contributor to sustainability. Waste energy is largely about converting recycled energy into usable energy such as electricity or steam. Broward County generates electricity. Wheelabrator takes the non-recycled waste to the Wheelabrator facility, converts it to clean and renewable energy, thus can produce enough energy for 100,000 homes in Broward County. This allows for recycling credits that are mandated by the state under the statutes. Air emissions are extremely low, well below federal and state limits. Carbon dioxide levels are equal to removing 72,000 cars from the road. The EPA states that the waste to energy plants produce electricity with less environmental impact than almost all other sources of energy. One of the reasons they want us to go with it, because they had a waste to energy plant there. This was in 2013. 2 years later, they closed it. You plan ahead, you knew you were closing it then, and you were selling us on it to go on a contract with you guys on this whole waste to energy plant, which you guys closed in 2015 with a 7-2, I think it was 7-2 vote by Broward County. So I've been down this road with you all, and I feel, as the point was made, the goalpost gets being moved, the yard marker keeps being moved. Quite frankly, it is a complicated issue because I think it's intentionally done that way. You closed it because you said you didn't have enough business because 10 of there was 15 that stayed with you guys, 10 of them left. You bought out the competition and you closed that plant, and now you've let it rot. It's the only place in Broward County, I believe, maybe privately owned, that you have waste to energy designation. Is that accurate?
South facility.
South facility still has it. Okay, so it really limits what we're trying to do as an overall master plan by getting rid of this. And quite frankly, the best way to do that is let the plant go to waste, fall apart. It's unusable. That's their argument. It's unusable. That's why you can't do it. I am frustrated by listening to these promises and have it change every single time. You had this small little facility on the northeast corner. It was an old building. So if we tear down that building, you allowed us to go to, remember that? It used to be a little,
I don't.
it was a little white rotting building that was right there. If you get rid of that, it'll look nicer. We'll get rid of it. Let us expand over there. Boy, man, you guys went right to that corner and right straight up so you can get that angle. This height thing is going to eventually come to an end because it's going to be too expensive for you guys to get the waste up at an angle. That's all. It has nothing to do with us. I look at the history of this and having been doing this for a long time, why you decided to close it, I don't know. I don't know why we're doing it now when we know this proposal's there. If you can pull out the bad stuff now, I would think you would be doing it. And you're telling me that it's a two-way street. Give us this and we'll do this. We've been giving and giving and giving, and we're not getting back. And, you know, it's very, very frustrating when I see this. So I don't know. I don't know how any of us could be okay with what is being proposed. I think it's one thing to ask to fill in that space for the now defunct waste to energy plant, because you just talked about how you have a new waste to energy plant that you're going to be doing renewable energy facilities up north, right?
A little different, but yes.
Okay, so you have that going up north.
Mhm.
And I look at this and I look at all the information that was put out 2013, that brochure, that was selling us on the fact that they want to do that little expansion. And you took it away a couple years later and you knew it. You knew it was going to happen. And I just don't have a lot of faith in this organization because I've got a track record here. And these are all facts. This is all meeting minutes and things are said because I was here. I remember it. And, you know, I feel like I'm being sold another bill of goods. So I don't know why any of us would support this. I hope we don't. I hope Broward County doesn't. And I hope we work together and get rid of all this past history and work together for a new future in which we're working in cooperation to solve the problem and not just trying to take care of your bottom line. I mean, because this is a bigger problem and we know it. And doing this ahead of time before we have this master plan, it doesn't matter. I mean, quite frankly, that waste to energy plant was in the comprehensive plan that Broward County had back in 2015 when he closed it. Despite that, Broward County still voted for it. It was in their plan. They still got rid of it. He said, well, we don't have enough energy. The South can handle all of it. They can't. They did it. They couldn't. But that's what the bill of goods we were sold by the county then. I can bring up the quotes. It didn't happen. They can't do it. So it's frustrating, and I don't support this at all.
So I understand your frustration. Just one point, Mayor. There are distinctly different waste streams. And I wasn't here for the 2015 timeframe. I was here back in 2010 and had left to do some other things. But the waste energy plant is designed, and they're all designed to process household waste, that municipal solid waste fraction. what we're talking about with a landfill is that other fraction, the other two fractions of the waste, 3 if you include the storm debris. So the material that we're proposing to put into Monarch Hill has already been recycled and is not suitable for a waste energy project. So while we could theoretically build a new waste energy project here and process more municipal solid waste, we would then still be left with no solution for the post-recycled construction and demolition, bulky waste, storm debris, those type of things. That's the only point I want to make clear.
Thank you.
Sure. Any other
Thank you
questions?
very much. Anything else? Presentation?
Are we ready for item 13, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, if we can move up item 13. Thank you.
Item 13 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, opposing and urging Broward County to deny the proposed land use plan amendment to the Broward County Comprehensive Plan, Broward County Municipal Services District Future Land Use Element Map Series, changing the future land use designation of the former Wheelabrator North Resource Recovery Facility site from electrical generation facility to an industrial future land use designation. Opposing and urging denial of any request for a height increase to the facilities located at Monarch Hill site. Directing the city clerk to transmit a certified copy of this resolution to the county commission and Broward municipalities, providing for an effective date.
Thank you. I think the commission has spoken on this. Is there anyone from the public that would care to comment on this item?
I think you said it very well. My name is Elizabeth Roberts. I live at 524 Northwest 38 Terrace, Deerfield Beach. And this isn't the first time Waste Management has asked for an increase, and it won't be the last. I support this commission's resolution to deny the request. Give Waste Management an absolute deadline to make recycling work, because coming up with these other systems isn't going to do it. You've got to get people to reduce the amount of waste they're producing. Tell the company to come back with a plan that accomplishes 3 things. It complies with the existing ordinances containing its footprint, establishes a viable recycling program vital to South Florida, and forestalls convening yet another meeting to consider yet another request for landfill expansion. Can't be done, they say. Why not? I have here a list of 7 other cities nationwide that have accomplished that which Waste Management says is impossible. This information is taken from a publication called EcoWatch, a 19-year-old environmental platform dedicated to publishing science-based content on environmental issues, causes, and solutions. The cities are San Francisco, which diverts 80% of its waste from landfills, the highest rate of any major U.S. city. A city ordinance requires both residents and companies to separate waste into 3 streams: recyclable, compostable, and landfill. And that law is supported by bans on single-use plastic checkout bags, styrofoam food containers, and stringent construction debris recovery requirements. Los Angeles was compelled by statewide goals for waste recovery and mandates for recycling. It used related state grants to build up its recycling infrastructure and educate the public. Sub-programs include requiring restaurants to compost their scraps and giving companies tax breaks based on the amount they recycle. Seattle adopted a mandatory food scrap recycling program in 2009. It adopted a zero waste policy in 2010 and made commercial recycling mandatory in 2013, all to eliminate landfilling and incineration. As of 2017, Seattle recycled 56.9% of its waste, with a goal to reach 72% by 2025. A 3-year phase-in program for mandatory recycling allowed for better education of residents and creation of processes for effective enforcement. Among the programs, recycling is collected for free, but there's a per bag fee for regular garbage with a lower monthly rate for smaller trash cans. Boise developed an innovative recycling program for non-recyclable plastic film in partnership with Hefty and Renewology, a company that converts plastics to diesel. San Jose in California, where they have lots of construction, committed to 75% reduction by 2013, zero waste by 2022, and zero landfill waste by 2040 via a 3-way partnership.
Would you like one more minute?
I have one more minute.
Yes.
I'll skip 2 cities. New York City. As recently as January 2020, New York City recycled just 1/5 of its trash due to lack of bins and political reluctance, and a culture built around Amazon deliveries and takeout food. Now, a proposed bill charges producers a fee for the end waste their products produce, paper, plastic, glass, and metal, and that encourages use of sustainable packaging, and the fees are used to offset recycling expenses. In each case, it's elected representatives, you guys, who set the ground rules necessary to modernize and nurture the domestic recycling industry. It can be done through better technology, like in Denver and Boise, innovative public-private partnerships, as with the 3 California cities, or via precedent-setting legislation in New York. Here, our very drinking water is at stake. It lies just feet below the surface. Approval of this request will only pad waste management profits. Vote no for the redesignation and demand the only long-term solution, a recycling program that works.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Katie Freitag, 418 Southeast Second Street. Deerfield Beach City Waste does not go to the site. Yet we have to put up with the smell, the sounds, and the truck traffic. We don't do business with waste management because it costs too much. There is no win-win in the situation. Only a Deerfield Beach loses again. At what time do we say stop? At what time do we stand up against the county and push back so that more projects like this don't get shoved at us? We need to fight harder against projects that do nothing to help our city. This proposal only saves us for 16 years. Then what? Again, the 7,500 tractor trailers back on the road, 3.5 million gallons of fuel per year wasted. But the bonus is it won't be on our streets. Also, all I hear is it's all about waste management, and I'm not hearing anything about what it can do for Deerfield Beach. I applaud the commission and only ask, how can we help? Who do we need to contact? Who do we need to call? Who do we need to write letters to? Who do we need to get involved with to keep this from going on in our front yard? Not our backyard, but our front yard. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joe Hines, 559 Northwest 47th Terrace. Mayor, I'd like to thank you for giving us some background on waste management's past history. It's very illuminating. Couple things. If they could build to whatever height they wanted to on this site, how high could they actually go? When you ask what their long-term plan is, 16 years from now, they're going to come along and say, well, now we've got to go higher. That's what their long-term plan is. The alternative they're saying is going to be going to Okeechobee. Well, how are you going to get to Okeechobee? You're going to take Turnpike? That's one way. 95 is another. You can go up to Beeline Highway. The last 20 miles of Beeline Highway, North Indian Town, is 2-lane road. You're talking hundreds of trucks. And that's a scare tactic because it's going to start hitting everybody's, all the citizens are going to find out their garbage bills are going to be really going through the roof, along with inflation and everything else we're suffering. So there's going to be pressure on you guys to let these guys go to 500 feet or 700 feet or what. I don't know what the height is. I'm sure their engineers can tell you how high they can go on 320 acres safely. And that's where they're going to end up going. And I think that's what we're looking at somewhere. I mean, we may not see it, but I think that's where it's headed. Unless they open up another landfill here in the short term, here in the short vicinity. And where is that going to be? Where's 320 acres or whatever you really need? And he, you know, I don't know how big that Okeechobee site is. Maybe it's 1,000 acres. I don't know. And maybe they can hold, you know, vast amounts, but you're still trucking at 100 miles one way, and that's back and forth. And that's going to be very expensive, and fuel's getting more money every day too. So something to pause. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Hines, just a show of hands, you're against this expansion? Mr. Hines, just a show of hands, you're against this expansion? Did I have that right? Did I have that right? Are you against this expansion? Okay, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Daniel Shanetsky. My address is 34 Keswick B, Deerfield Beach. I'm in District 3. I'm against the expansion of Monarch Hills garbage dump. I'm also against the rezoning of Monarch Hills garbage dump to industrial. If that gets done, if it is rezoned into industrial, there's no turning back. As was brought out, the waste and garbage in Deerfield Beach is not even in this landfill. Basically, it's outside cities that are not Deerfield Beach that are have garbage in our backyard. So it's not even relevant. I'm originally from New York. From 1948 to 2001, Staten Island, where I lived for several years, had a massive landfill. Every time I told somebody I live in Staten Island, the first thing they said was, oh, the garbage dump, the landfill. And that was 20 stories high, the landfill, when it was stopped in 2001. Right now, the landfill here is 22 stories. If we add another 100 feet, it can go up 25 stories, 30 stories. Now, I don't want Broward County, which has the most beautiful beaches, and Deerfield Beach that has the most beautiful shorelines, to be known as, no, not the beaches, but it has a large garbage dump. I don't want that stigma to be brought to my city in Deerfield Beach. I'm too proud of it. Last year, the City Commission voted on an ordinance to join 26 of 31 of our sister cities in Broward County to make a Broward County Waste Solid Authority. And that was a step in the right direction to look for alternative sources on what to do with that garbage dump. It can be done if we work together. I don't want to pass this down the road to our children and our grandchildren to have this massive dump with all its toxicity. I don't want to give this to future generations of Deerfield Beach and Broward County. We cannot kick this down the road. The time now is for action. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Roger Freitag, 418 Southeast 2nd Street, Deerfield Beach, Florida. I'm against the raising the height of the landfill. That being said, I was wondering, as a citizen of Deerfield Beach, I was wondering if our commissioners, mayor, city manager would consider a far more aggressive plan with filthy organics, taking all of the yard waste that we have from our palm trees, grass clippings, anything that you should have on your property that can be taken to filthy organics and reused, I think would be a fantastic idea. I'd love to see the plan that we have right now with the 5-gallon pails. If we could up that by 1,000%, get as many homes as possible on it, and just remove as much waste that's going to the landfill sites somewhere. Anyways, no to raising the height. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone online? Sure. Just need your name and address for the record, please. SIG 20. Thank you. Next. That's it. Anyone else here? Yes, ma'am. Come on up.
Lucia Del Genio, 707 North Shore Drive, District 4. I just have a question. I don't know if it's an intelligent question, but if I think of Florida, a land with a lot of sinkholes, did anybody do any studies on the weight that would create probably a problem underground under this dump? And could that be a problem to even, not in the future, but now, even with the weight now, and that much more weight probably would be a problem. I don't know if they had any geological studies on it. If you can answer that, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. No, that's it. Okay. Pat Nanduri, go ahead.
Hi, I live in 1430 Southwest 45th Way, Deerfield Beach. I'm pretty close to the landfill. And last time when my son was in kindergarten, we had a tour of the facility. And that time they said it would take 17 years to reach the height limit. And now we are like 10 years later, and they're saying 6 years. And now, as I guessed last time, they want to raise the height. So strictly against it, strictly no. In addition to bad smells, bad odors, trucks on the road, there is a hell lot of dust. I can't even sit outside my home in the back patio. There is black soot all the time. It's really bad. So strictly no for raising the head, please. And one question I have is, I also heard that they would come guns blazing to have it raised or to get what they want. So what happens to this denial? What is this going to really stop them? Or I would like to know what would be the outcome of this.
Thank you. Mr. Callen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Dean Cowan, 3250 Southwest Second Court. Mr. Mayor, I completely agree with everything that you had said and the way you laid it out, and I thank you for that, given the full insight of what's going on. But what I saw in action from the gentleman speaking was a true used car salesman at its best. He's trying to sell us a bill of goods, and we have to stand up for our city. It is time to say no. We've gone through enough with this. It affects a lot more people than he realizes. But then again, he's there for the money. We don't
Mr.
need this.
Callen, Mr. Callen, I'm just going to pause you for a moment. If you cannot attack the gentleman who spoke, just if you have things to say about the company, that's okay, but not about the individual, please.
I apologize for that, Mr. Mayor. Again, this is back it right up. We don't need this. It's not something that benefits our city in any way to go any higher than it is. Personally, I don't believe it should have gone as high as it already is. But we're beyond that. It's time to definitely say no and shut this process down permanently. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else online? SIG 20, let's try this again.
Hello?
Yes, I just need your name and address for the record, please. Yes.
Educating us on the gas, on where we're at. Going forward, I would not keep back into my vote, but I don't really appreciate the comment. He said this doesn't.
Ma'am, I'm sorry. We're having a very hard time understanding you. We'll start from the beginning. Give me your name and address for the record, please. Yeah, I'm sorry. We cannot understand you at all. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Try again, one more time. Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? I'm going to close it to the public then. Commission?
Motion to approve.
Second.
New motion from Vice Mayor Drosky, seconded by Commissioner Hudak. We have roll call, please.
Commissioner Hudak?
Yes.
Commissioner Preston?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Drosky?
Yes.
Mayor Gantz?
Yes. Appreciate your time. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Okay, we are now at the public comment portion of tonight's meeting. Persons addressing the commission shall state his or her name and address and may speak for 3 minutes unless extended for 1 additional minute by the mayor. This is time for public comment on items that are not on tonight's agenda. If you have public comment on an item that is on tonight's agenda, the time to do that is after the title is read into the record and the public comment period for such item is open. No comment shall be made related to the personal life or personal qualities of any person, and no language which would offend persons of ordinary sensibilities shall be permitted.
Thank you.
Yes, good evening. Roger Freitag, 418 Southeast 2nd Street, Deerfield Beach, Florida. On March 12th, I was fortunate enough to attend a code compliance workshop / meeting at the Technical Center, or I believe that's what it's called. Anyways, I was wondering if city officials have made any decisions on amnesty for those residents that may need it. And what are we going to do with the outstanding $118 million that is owed to the city in non-code compliance? Thank you very much, and I look forward to hearing the response.
Thank you.
Good evening. Sandy Troyman, 602 Southeast 8th Avenue, Deerfield Beach. And I'm here to thank the mayor and commission for responding to my neighborhood, the Gardens area, request to have a meeting. We want to thank you for the meeting that was held on April 23rd with Vice Mayor Drosky and Commissioner Hudak. And the 40 residents who attended were very much encouraged to hear the vice mayor and the commissioner and the city manager stating that they would try and work with us to address our concerns about the trees and work towards getting replacements for them. And we're very thankful for all that. And I guess having had some experience with having some building codes with the city holds its residents very much to the letter of the law. And our neighborhood is really hopeful that the mayor and commission will also set a good example by following their policies in terms of stormwater management, planning, design, and streetscape design. So really, thank you very much for listening to us, and we really want to work with you and continue to make this the best project it can be and to solve that flooding problem. We're all very much concerned about the flooding. We don't want to do anything that would damage that. So thank you very
Mr.
much.
Corman.
Hi, good evening. Karen Shelley, 190 Durham D. I'd like to read a proclamation. This is related to the 7th Annual Ocean Brews and Blues Beer Festival. Whereas the 7th Annual Ocean Brews and Blues Beer Festival is an integral part of our city's culture, fostering a spirit of camaraderie among residents and visitors, increasing the knowledge and appreciation of our ocean, craft beer, and the blues. And whereas in recognition of Cove Brewery, whose pioneering spirit as our city's first brewery has enhanced the landscape of the city of Deerfield Beach, enriching our community with its flavorful concoctions of hops and grains. And whereas the harmonious blend of refreshing brews and soulful melodies at the Ocean Brews and Blues Beer Festival embodies the essence of our city, epitomizing its vibrant atmosphere and fostering bonds that transcend boundaries. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Karen Shelley, a city resident acting on my own behalf, do hereby proclaim, in honor of the 7th Annual Ocean Brews and Blues Beer Festival and its contribution to the enrichment of our community, on Saturday, May 18th, 2024, the city of Deerfield Beach shall be known as Deerfield Beach. In witness whereof I hereby set my hand on this 7th day of May, 2024. Thank you.
Thank you.
Katie Freitag, 418 Southeast 2nd Street. The Kiwanis Club of Deerfield Beach is involved in a project called Christmas in July. It provides 6,500 backpacks to homeless children who are registered to go to Broward County schools but do not have an address. These backpacks include clothing. It includes a school uniform, as well as a play clothes uniform, shoes, socks, underwear, garments for the ladies, school supplies, toiletries, everything these children need to be able to go to school the very first day, just like every other child. My request to the city is for collection boxes. Commissioner Drosky was at the event last year and he was saying, how can the city get more involved in this event? Collection boxes. Collection boxes decorated as Christmas presents placed in locations like City Hall, Triple C, and the Goolsby locations for members of the city to provide, to come by and maybe drop some employees of the city come by and drop some things in to help these students out. So I would like to request the support of the city in that regard. Secondly, regarding trees, this is actually on my notes. For every one tree that we take out of the city, we need to be putting back 5. I was back in Indianapolis this past weekend, and I went through a neighborhood very similar to Deerfield Beach, and I could not believe the fact that all the trees are gone. They have decimated, removed all the trees and have built up. very lovely neighborhood is gone. And that's what I'm afraid is going to happen in Deerfield Beach. So for every one tree that we take out of Deerfield, we need to be planting 5 somewhere else in Deerfield. I know we had an issue with a lot of palm trees that were installed over at along the line, the east side of the cemetery that were the wrong trees. They have now been, since I'm hoping, relocated to somewhere else in the city. So somewhere else in the city should have 30 beautiful palm trees, only this tall. But trees like that definitely need to be reused. They need to be planted. We need to keep doing maybe more than 1 tree giveaway. I know last year we did 2. Maybe we can make it quarterly, something along those lines to keep going with the city and keep it as homey and as a neighborhood as it should be. Thank you.
Thank you.
Daniel Shanetsky, 34 Keswick B, Deerfield Beach, Florida, District 3. On April 17th, I went to the I'm sorry. On April 17th, I went to the Urban Land Institute Density Panel discussion that was on Hillsborough Technology Center. Basically, there's a lot of rhetoric, so I was able to pull out some things. And basically, the question is, what can Deerfield Beach do to improve itself for the future? What kind of plans could Deerfield Beach have in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years to develop into a beautiful 21st century city? Basically, it came out that Deerfield Beach at this time doesn't have an identity. It does have projects that are sort of hodgepodge, just throwing things on the wall. So what they said is, developers want predictability. And if you have that predictability, developers will come and they'll invest in the city. And they said something very important that really struck my interest. They said, if you can create a spark in the city, the rest will come, the developers will come. And I think we have that spark. Last year, I went to city commission meetings where they were talking about Pioneer Grove Park, how to enhance Pioneer Grove Park. Basically, they had a presentation and plan on how to put bigger sidewalks, how to have more canopy of trees so that people are comfortable walking on those sidewalks and going to shops, having beautiful lighting. And we even had a presentation on the different lighting fixtures. I think that's an excellent step in the direction. And I was very, very excited about that. So my question is, what's the timeline and what is the progress on Pioneer Grove Park for Deerfield Beach? I think this is a great first step. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lucia Del Genio, 707 North Shore Drive. Just on the trees, I also agree, but I'm not a palm tree person because those big pieces will come down and can basically kill someone on the royal palms. I'm always looking up and not walking under them, and they don't provide any shades or any place for animals to thrive. I think we need shade trees everywhere. That would be nice and keep the city cooler. And then I have a couple of questions. On the following is the requirement of all local government under the Live Local Act, which went into effect on July 1st, 2023. And by October 1st, 2023, the city must create an inventory of all lands owned by the city that are appropriate uses for affordable housing and to make the this publicly available. On the city's website, the Affordable Housing Public Land Inventory List is dated of August 23. Is this nearly 9 months old list really the most current list that the city has? And then the second question is, the other question I have is accuracy of the list and basically on the main parking lot. Is it owned by the city and why is it not added to the list of the property owned by the city? Thank you.
Dan Hers, 330 Southeast 19th Avenue. It's a nice feeling when I can find something to compliment the mayor on. Lately, the mayor has changed his longstanding position and publicly stated that he is in favor of providing property tax breaks to developers to incentivize them to bring projects to the Pioneer Grove area of Deerfield Beach. This is a position I have been advocating for many years, and it was nice of the mayor to announce publicly that property tax incentives have been mentioned by me for some time. Unfortunately, I don't have much praise for the District 4 commissioner who recently said publicly that he is in favor of eliminating some city advisory boards in Deerfield Beach. His exact quote was, "We need to seriously and soon consolidate boards and get some more efficiencies." May I remind the District 4 Commissioner that it was his idea just 3 short months ago to institute Level 2 criminal background checks for certain advisory boards that have already had a chilling effect on these boards. It's nothing to be proud of when wonderful pillars of the community like Diane Chisholm would rather resign from a board than be subjected to a Level 2 criminal background check. What has the District 4 Commissioner done lately to encourage more board participation? On April 17th, the Urban Land Institute held a seminar for all 5 Deerfield Beach elected officials. The panelists' message to the commissioners was increasing density is not necessarily a bad thing. The most interesting part of the meeting was when Commissioner Drosky asked the developers why they were not willing to develop anything new in Deerfield Beach. Developer Mark Schmullian gave the following answer. Deerfield Beach does not have an identity. It does not have a master plan. I don't know who Deerfield Beach wants to be. When Deerfield Beach understands who they want to be, the developers will come and help you get there. Mr. Schmullian is incorrect. Deerfield Beach does have a development vision. Just examine the track records of the 3 longest-serving commissioners on the dais. We have the District 4 Commissioner who has been on the dais for 7 years and 2 months, same as the District 3 Commissioner. And the mayor has been up there for 15 years and 2 months. Their vision is borne out by what we have in abundance in Deerfield Beach. We have an assorted array of self-storage facilities all around the city, such as Sentry Storage, Federal Highway Storage, Cube Smart Storage, Deerfield Beach Storage, that nice high-rise storage facility right in the heart of Pioneer Grove, who will one day build the brewery restaurant we were all promised when it was built, and many others. We also have a wide assortment of cannabis dispensaries. I know how much Deerfield Beach likes to compare itself to other Broward. May I have one more minute? Thank you so much. I know how much Deerfield Beach likes to compare itself to other Broward County municipalities when it serves their purpose. So I am happy to announce that Deerfield Beach has more per capita cannabis dispensaries than any of the other 31 cities in Broward County. Many taxpayers are still trying to get over the bad news recently announced by our economic development team that the cannabis dispensary promised for the A1A S-curve will now probably become a restaurant instead. A few other items to clear up quickly. When the mayor accused me of forcing the CRA director to answer a simple question last meeting, he said he would never force a female employee to answer a question, implying that her sex was an issue. Let me assure you, Mayor, I am an equal opportunity caller outer of bad government. Just ask the city manager, who is a male. And finally, I hope that there is some publicity about the town hall meeting of the Broward School Board this Thursday night.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone? You've already spoken. Thank you. Doesn't matter. Thank you. Anyone else? Sure. 677 phone number. Your name and address for the record, please.
Glenn Sullivan, 162 Rushing Water Lane, Troutman, North Carolina, 28166. Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, and people of Deerfield Beach. I recently heard about the grand opening of the Braithwaite Center for Active Aging. I didn't receive my invitation, but soon realized it must be a mistake. I figured saving the city over $1 million would garner at least a back row seat. So how did I save the city $1 million, you ask? Well, the first request for a proposal was sent with limited supplier notification, and when I reviewed the contractor proposals, yes, me, I found the suggested winner, X, had not completed the ethics section properly, resulting in disqualification. No one else reviewed that part of the proposal, I guess. Despite the commission's attempt to award anyway, the city attorney confirmed the disqualification. Instead of awarding to the next highest qualifying proposal, the commission chose to send the RFP out again. When the city sent the new RFP out, the cost factor had been lowered by 25% for the next phase of proposal evaluation. Many of us on social media did wonder why the cost factor would be reduced. The second set of proposals were received, and despite over $1 million higher than the next highest qualified bidder, the same contractor, X, disqualified in the first round, was again identified as the winner. I had received the scoring sheets completed by the evaluators via a public records request and found one evaluator with scoring that was significantly inconsistent with all other evaluators, and that score resulted in the recommended award to X. I sent my evaluation of the scoring to the Joint Legislative Audit Committee, who were in the process of auditing the city. When the city requested a face-to-face oral presentation from the top 3 candidates, contractor X withdrew, and the city ended up awarding the effort to SRS, number 2 rated contractor, for yes, over $1 million less than who the commission seemed to favor. As to the mayor's speech last meeting, searching for negative comments from me and others on social media, as he's always said, go for it. It was always about the cost and then questionable procurement practices. I look forward to the mayor's search results. Maybe even post them on Deerfield Beach Politics for all of us to see. Even though I wouldn't be able to make it even had I received an invitation, I'll always know that my effort resulted in a worthwhile addition to the senior community at a reasonable price, and I had foiled an attempt to award a city contract for what appeared to be a favored contractor of the mayor. Thank you, and have a good time at the grand opening.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public? Nobody else? Anyone else? Any other states that want to call in? Check. Okay, we're going to close it to the public then. A couple things. I don't think there's been a decision made on the amnesty or going after the money. I don't think we're going to start foreclosure proceedings on people that owe us money due to past code violations. And you know, obviously that's a complicated matter, and there's a lot of reasons to do it. But certainly we need to continue to look for ways to recoup some of that money. Without a doubt, thank you, Mr. Koyman, for your comments and your participation in getting people together and trying to work on solutions and being open-minded. I really appreciate that. Never heard, I have to, with all due respect, Miss Shelley, I think that was the worst advertisement I ever heard for the Beer and Blues Festival, because a proclamation's terrible when I do it. It's even odder when it comes from the public. So, but thank you for at least bringing that up. We're looking forward to that great event. I hope to see you there. Ms. Freitag, we can look into that collection box suggestion. I think that's a small thing that we could do, and we'll check with the city attorney and the city manager unless the commission has any issues with that. It's interesting, the ULI, and we brought in the Urban Land Institute a long time ago when we first started Sullivan Park, and that's experts in their fields that come together. We pay them a small fee, but they come and they give us kind of overall ideas, which is how we got Sullivan Park and other different places that we got there. Predictability is one. Keep in mind, the city of Deerfield Beach had a reputation that development was not welcome here because there was some really crazy things going on with the government back 20 plus years ago, and people like the Sabre Beach Group came forward and prevented some really bad development that was going on. That legacy of Deerfield Beach being a no development town is still there. It's still there. So we work through that, and you know, we do have a vision. We do have planning visions. We understand, you know, kind of what the residents want. Sometimes making that happen with developers that might be a little leery can be difficult, but you have to be able to make sure you progress without destroying our overall feel of the city. Palm trees, hear you on the hazard. Thank you for sharing that. The reason the main beach parking lot would not be on a vacant parcel of land for the city to develop affordable housings because it's not vacant. It serves a purpose. I don't think we're giving up any parking lots or anything like that. I had a little trouble with that. If you have more questions on Ms. Delgenio, we can answer those questions. I'm glad to see Mr. Hers has come out saying that he's against level 2 background checks for boards that would interact with children. I had still baffled why people are against that. And just a reminder, those 2 self-storage facilities have been built probably in the years that I've been in office. One was a back parcel over on Federal Highway. And the other one that's over on Hillsborough that everybody likes to talk about was in an industrial area that was permitted because we couldn't say no to it. They did everything right. They didn't ask for any variances. Mr. Sullivan likes to think of that, but he's absolutely inaccurate as usual. And it was granted because we couldn't vote no. And if you say that I supported it, it was a 5-0 vote. You can go back and talk to everybody that was there and why they supported it as well, as because we couldn't say no to it. They followed all the rules. It was industrial at the time. And we would have gotten ourselves into a Burt Harris Act. And it's nice to see that Mr. Sullivan's checking in from North Carolina. His obsession in a city that he's briefly lived in is welcome. But to tell the full story, if we'd done Mr. Sullivan's way on that project, he suggested we award it immediately to the second bidder, which would have cost the city money. In the end, by going back out, we ended up saving money, but it was not necessarily entirely because of Mr. Sullivan bringing up a minor technicality. I think that covers everything. If there's anything I missed, please let us know. Stick around and we can get your questions answered. Yeah.
Okay, we are now on the consent agenda. Items 4 through 8 are currently on consent.
Okay. Commissioner, are there any polls for items 4 through 8? I want to poll one. Let me see. I want to poll number 6. Is there anything else? Is there, okay. Anyone? All right. Is there anyone from the public that would comment on any item 4, 5, 6, 7, or actually hold off on 6, 4, 5, 7, or 8? One. Number 4, 5, 7, or 8. Give us comments. Is there anyone online? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. James McGeary at 1442 Southeast 6th Street, Deerfield Beach. On item number 7, can I get some clarity on they're closing certain portions of that area? Are any of the adjoining streets being closed? This is in reference to the Cove Brewery are having a celebration in July. And I don't know if it's going to impact the adjoining public streets, or is it just isolated to the Cove itself structurally?
Okay.
If I could somehow I can get an answer to that, I'd certainly appreciate it. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, I'm going to close that. City Manager, can you answer to that question?
No roadway closures outside of the Cove parking lot will occur. The limit of the closure will be that would be the, let's see, southwest entrance to the Cove, correct? Yeah.
Okay. So it's the entrance to the Cove that's right next to the Cove Brewery. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Just that going into the Cove from that spot will be closed.
Street is not being.
The road going north-south? No, it will not be closed. Okay, you will not be able to enter the Cove from that entrance there. That's what this closure is about.
Thank you.
Have that right?
You did.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I know you're probably trying to close off your street. No traffic. I don't blame you. Can't blame you on that one. Okay, Commission?
Motion to approve items 4, 5, 7, and 8.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion from Commissioner Hudak, second by Commissioner Preston. We have roll call, please.
Commissioner Hudak?
Yes.
Commissioner Preston?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Drosky?
Yes.
Mayor Gans?
Yes.
Item number 6 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, approving the award of request for proposals number 24-11-VP for beach amenity rental services to Oceanside Beach Service, Inc., authorizing the city manager as designated to negotiate and execute an agreement with the sole responsive and responsible proposer, Oceanside Beach Service, Inc., for a 2-year term with 2 additional 2-year renewal options with a minimum annual revenue to the city of $200,000, providing for implementation and an effective date.
Okay, do we have a presentation?
I do have a presentation prepared. I can have our Director of Parks and Recreation, Mr. Warner, provide that.
Sure.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the commission. Greg Warner, Director of Parks and Recreation. And as the city attorney read, this is a resolution in front of you for the award of RFP 2411 VP for beach amenity rental services, and also to allow authorize the city manager or his designee to negotiate an agreement with the awarded vendor. So I have some background of the RFP and the details of the agreement here. So the city issued RFP 2411 VP on January 29th of 2024. It was advertised in the Sun Sentinel. Also, notice was sent to 107 respondents via the e-marketplace or e-procurement marketplace. And with that advertisement, 4 vendors reviewed the RFP documents. The city, through its purchasing process, then held a pre-proposal conference meeting and had two vendors appear for that to get some background on the RFP, and that was held on February 6th. And then the bid opening and the bids were due on March 7th. So in that bid opening, we did have one proposal for those services. So the evaluation committee appointed by the city manager independently reviewed. So through our purchasing process, even though there was only one vendor, we still go through a full selection process. So the committee reviewed and scored the proposal. At their March 12th public evaluation meeting, the committee was unanimous in recommending to approve the award of the RFP to Oceanside Beach Service Incorporated. And they were deemed to be the sole responsive and responsible proposer. And I have a listing of the evaluation committee, the professionals on staff, and it gives a good variety of staff. And that's with the Assistant Director of Parks and Recreation, Director of Economic Development and CRA, the Ocean Rescue Chief, Administrator of Waterfront and Aquatics, and then the Park Superintendent. So Oceanside Beach Service, a little background on them. They were established in 1979 with their first city being Singer Island, or the first beach being Singer Island. They are currently providing services to Singer Island still, Lake Worth, Boynton Beach, Delray Beach, and Boca Raton. And they've also been serving the city of Deerfield Beach since 2018. And the current agreement with them was to expire in February of 2024. Did exercise a 90-day extension of that so that we could do a full bid process for that. So they were on a 2-year, from 2018 on a 2-year agreement, similar to the one that we're going to be proposing. And then the two-year renewals were exercised with them, bringing them to 2024. And as in speaking with staff, the city, Oceanside has been a very good city partner throughout this relationship. They've partnered on different events. They've been very responsive to staff when there's any issues, anything that we need to discuss with them. They've been very responsive, very receptive to any recommendations. And as through that purchasing process, a reference check is always done on those vendors, and that came back with very positive results from other municipalities that they work with. And we feel that it's been a very valuable service that they do provide for our residents as well as the visitors to the city of Deerfield Beach and at the beach. So some details on the scope of work for this proposal. And just to define what a setup is, and it's one umbrella and one cabana, or one umbrella with one or two chairs or recliners. So that would be deemed as a setup. There's six locations throughout the Deerfield Beach that they can be set up in, and each of those 6 locations, they have 25 setups that they can do on those locations. So in total, they have the ability for 150 setups. And I'll show you a map on the next slide in just a moment. The operating hours from September through March, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And these are the hours that the beach is guarded with lifeguards. April through August from 9 a.m. through 7 p.m. And in the scope of work, they provide the staff, the on-site staff, and all resources for setups, breakdowns, and all related operations. So here you see, it's a little bit difficult to see, but on this map, the picture on the left-hand side outlines the 5 areas on the main beach, and that's just south of the pier running south. And then on the right-hand side is in front of the Embassy Suites. So those are the 6 areas identified. And the agreement details the term, as I talked about the past agreement. It's also a two-year agreement with the option for 2 additional two-year terms. And those options that is at the discretion of the city and would have to be in agreement with the contractor to exercise those renewal options. Compensation, the contractor shall pay the city the greater of either $200,000 per year or 30% of their gross revenues. And just to make a point, with the past agreement, the minimum that they were paying is $136,000 per year. So they've seen an increase in business as well. The city utilized the last 2 years of revenues and figures to the city to come up with this figure, but we determined a $200,000 minimum was a fair minimum, and we really expect that 30% of gross revenues will most likely be what will be paid back to the city for these future years during this agreement. And just a couple of points that I wanted to bring out, and I know there's been some concern about the number of setups, some future beach plans, those types of things, but within that agreement, the city manager has the authority to increase or decrease the number of locations at the discretion of the city if we see if there's any changes that need to be made. Also, the city manager shall have the authority to approve or disapprove all locations and limit the number of advanced equipment setups in designated locations throughout there. So we do have some authority with this agreement. So with that, staff is recommending the City Commission award RFP 2411 VP for beach amenity rental services to Oceanside Beach Services Incorporated, and authorize the city manager or designee to negotiate and execute an agreement with Oceanside Beach Services Incorporated. And with that, I will take any questions that you may have.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I just want to point out one thing to the commission pursuant to section 7.09 of the city charter. Approval of the execution of the contract does require a 4/5 affirmative vote of the commission. So with the absence of Commissioner Parnas, this would require each of you that are here today to approve this.
Thank you. Any questions? Matt? I'll save mine for later. Thank you. Oh, Commissioner Hudak, go right ahead.
Thank you. Can you put up the slide presentation of where these setups are being proposed to be allowed to go?
Commissioner, as that's brought up, do want to point out that the locations that are depicted here,
Mhm.
the blue lines are not to scale. They're more specifically defined in the scope. And in addition, they're the same areas in which the existing the contractor is operating under the existing contract.
I just want to know where people who don't want to buy their chairs get to sit.
Just in looking at the pictures and you see the blue rectangles.
Yes, sir.
There's chairs set up in those areas, but there's vacant property throughout in there for that.
So if a chair isn't purchased, is it set up? Explain the process to myself a little bit more. I mean, 8 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the morning, somebody out there setting all these spots up so that when I come in at 9 o'clock and is it all filled up already? And I've got to go to the north of the pier and watch people play volleyball, or explain to me where the public. I understand there's spaces and it's, you know, 100, you get 25 chairs or set up in each of those rectangles. I'm just concerned that, you know, they're monopolizing our entire beach.
I think with the pre-setups and your question about first thing in the morning, so they will, Oceanside will set up some pre-setups. That doesn't mean that that's a full 25, but they'll have some pre-setups set up. And then as more people come in and the demand rises throughout the day, then they add up to that 25, those 25 setups.
No further questions.
Okay. I have a couple. I'll just go ahead and get them out right now. Can you guys answer, what is the difference between the previous contract and this current contract and the previous conditions and the current conditions? Or, you know, the current conditions exist out there right now and have been existing. And what does this contract change on that?
Are you talking about numbers or?
I'm talking about, I think the financial one's the easiest one to see, but are they getting more chairs? Are they getting more zones? Is this exactly the way it was before? What exactly is happening?
Yes, Mayor. So the allowable areas that they have today are the same ones that you see in this image. So they're getting the same amount of setups that they have today. And we just in this contract asked for additional revenue based off of the historic revenues that we had seen over the 2 previous years, as Mr. Warner had indicated.
Okay, so they're getting the same number of chairs,
Yes,
same locations that they have currently now.
correct,
Okay, and we're getting more money.
correct.
That's the only difference.
Yes.
Okay. Is the public allowed to set up in these blue zones, I'll call them?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, there's no issue with that. So if I got there early and set up with a towel, there wouldn't be a problem,
That's correct.
other than the people around me not happy with me being in a bathing suit. That happens everywhere. So there's no problem.
No problem.
Okay. All right, so it's exactly the same, just more revenue for us. And through the course of this contract, have we changed any of the zones during the course of the contract?
Yes, we have. We've had to.
What have we done?
Yes. So the original northernmost zone was currently where the Wyndham is, and we moved that to the southernmost area that you see in the graphic on the left-hand side. And then
Fire wedding pavilion there? Is
that might be a little bit, the wedding pavilion might be a little bit more to the north, but the one that you see on the right where the wedding pavilion is, that was added when it we became aware that the Embassy Suites was running a beach concession operation down at that portion through a private contractor, which is not allowed through our regulations. So I went and worked with both the Embassy Suites and the contractor that they were working with to alert them and make them aware, but also with our current contractor to make arrangements for them to operate there so that the Embassy Suites could still maintain an amenity of the beach umbrella for their guests there at their resort as well. So we moved the contract down there, but we'd actually didn't add any additional umbrellas or chairs to the beach because there was already an operation there.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Preston?
As I look at these zones, and taking into account the amount of setups that they can have in per zone, I don't know that I can totally be comfortable with that there would be no problem. If a resident comes to set up in that area, how can you assure me, I know you said there would be no problem, but how can you assure me that if I go and set up, that they're not going to try to bully me out of that area? Because now I'm setting up in an area, so technically I can set up in that area, but can I do it without being bullied? And I think what we have to keep in mind also is that, I understand that this is a contract, the city is going to receive revenues, but in whatever way that we're going to do business, the one thing that should always be incorporated into this process is our residents. How are they treated? And the reason that is because they pay taxes. And I don't want any resident to go over and sit in and to be attached to one of those zones or set up. And I know what you said, but what does that look like in reality? That's what that's where I'm challenged a little bit.
One thing I can say in response to that, Commissioner, is that within Parks and Recreation, within the city of Deerfield, customer service is number one. So we're in constant communication with Oceanside, and we preach that to them, that the individuals on site need to be treating our residents, our visitors with the utmost customer service. And I would ask anybody that is listening that if that's not the case, to make sure that they let us know, because we'll be preaching that. We'll be working with the contractor to make sure that that's happening.
With all due respect, Greg, the only problem is if it did happen, you wouldn't know unless the resident comes forward. In fact, it could happen where they are being challenged and bullied, and unless something egregious happens, you just won't know.
But I would encourage anybody to let us know that. So, and that goes for any of our programs, any of our services. I would like to know that if it's our staff, if it's one of our contractors. So.
And to that point, Commissioner, I mean, we're giving you the staff perspective on how we would handle that and what we are observing out there. But I will say that the contractor is here to also answer any questions that you may have about the services that they provide, or address any of the issues and questions that you have as well.
I can just tell you, if this is awarded, and if I personally hear of a resident having a distasteful confrontation, I'm not going to be happy, because what we're selling here right now is that a resident would not have a problem whatsoever. I mean, in a way, we're talking about limited space, and because the contractor takes up a great deal of it. And so a resident comes in, how many resident comes in? I mean, and how much space do they take up? There's certainly, a possibility for tremendous challenges to take place in this. And I don't know that it works itself out in a very smooth manner. But I would not be happy to hear a resident come forward to say it didn't work out just like they said it would work out. So that's just my concern.
I agree with you.
Commissioner Hudak?
Thank you. So we've had this contract for 4 years now, correct? Exact same setup, exact same amount of spaces?
The current contract is 4 years. We've been with the vendor since 2018. Prior to that, we were with a different contractor, and then prior that for about 2 or 3 years. Then prior to that, we also had Oceanside. I can go back as far as 2010 to the contract that was in place with Oceanside. And in fact, at that time, the setups in the locations were provided more within the contract. We provided 40 spots within some of these sections, and we have reduced that.
And in the last 4 years, how many incidents have we been made aware of between a resident trying to set up and these setups?
That we're aware of, and I am not aware of a a total number, an exact number for you. I know just since the time I've been here, which is a short period of time, I've heard of 2 or 3.
Yeah, and I can say we
And we
received.
have the ability, from what I understand, and I apologize, talking over whoever I did, to reduce the number of setups if we find out that this is causing an issue per this contract.
The question was, can we reduce the number of setups? Is that
Correct.
correct? Yes, as was in the presentation, I have the ability to, and as I did in the current contract, to reduce, increase, move the number of setups.
Okay, so we have that flexibility if we determine that there's some challenges happening.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Drosky.
Thank you, Mayor. Pardon me. Commissioner Preston, I concur with you 100,000,000%. Pardon me, that the focus needs to be on our residents. But I can honestly say that before today, I don't recall any District 4 resident or any resident in the entire city reaching out to me saying that they couldn't find a spot on the beach before. I over the years have received calls of people that tried to use the service thinking it was free when it's not. I have received those calls, but I don't recall anyone saying that they were nudged out of a spot. If someone was bullied out of a spot, I would like to think we would have known about that before today. I received, I think, an email or two that I think we all received from people saying not to support this. But before today, I really don't recall anyone saying that they couldn't find a spot on our beach. I didn't know it was a problem until now. Maybe we're looking for a problem, but I wasn't aware it was one until now.
It's one thing to keep in mind. I can understand if this was a new venture that we've never done before. I remember, I've been here long enough to remember when the city did it themselves. We used to have private vendors back in the 2000s, and the city said, well, we can do it ourselves. And we went out and bought all these chairs, and we did that for a little while, and we ended up losing money. So the city did away with that and went with these private ventures doing that. But it exists now. Nothing has changed. Same amount of chairs, same amount of zones. We get more money. And the way the contract is written, if there is, and we haven't had a complaint that I know of, I haven't received one either. But if we do, we have the ability to retract zones and chairs at the city manager's request without any, pushback on that in the contract, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Preston?
Thank you, Mayor. To the Vice Mayor, you said you had not heard of any situations until today. I didn't say there was a problem. I'm simply asking the question. That's all. I'm just wanting to make sure that, that it is a smooth running process, asking questions along that line. I'm not suggesting that there's a problem. Nobody's told me that there's a problem, but certainly the questions are pertinent.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. Okay, thank you. Anyone from the public care to comment on this item?
Thank you. My name is Tom Connick, 411 East Hillsborough Boulevard, Deerfield Beach. At this point, there's an increased sensitivity as far as what's happening down at the beach. That is to a great extent being promoted by the dune plan, which the commission is kind enough on this Thursday to have a workshop or a discussion on that. Let's talk about this issue before us. In the issue before us, stuff which has been an issue, I'm not prepared today to go into, but there have been some issues on this. They to some extent were tolerated. Now, let me tell you, at least in my opinion, is not an issue. There's not an issue with Oceanside in Zone 6 down at Embassy. That's fine. There's not an issue with Oceanside north of Hillsborough Boulevard. That's fine. When you start to get further south, especially when you get into the main beach parking area and south of there, it becomes an issue. Let's talk about this setup situation. so we understand what it's about. What happens is early in the morning, the Oceanside comes out and they set up the umbrellas and the recliners or cabana and chairs, and they set them up. And by the way, when you talk about the zones, each of the 5 zones is from 10 feet west of the high water mark up until what Ocean Rescue says is okay. And by the way, where the storage is, there are like some permanently, basically, these chairs, recliners, umbrellas are placed along up near where the grass area is. Interestingly, down near where the beach cove is, actually the wooden thing they have to store and the recliners, they're up against basically what's the dune area. In these 5 zones, as I say, there's never really been a discussion where the public's been asked as far as its issue. But let's go back to it. So Commissioner Preston, if you were to go down to the beach this Saturday, let's say you get there at 9:30, you're going to have a line of these pre-set up.
One more minute, finish your point.
Yes, thank you. There's a line there. Well, what are you going to do? Because they're pre-set up. Are you going to move them if that's where you'd like a spot? Or are you going to go somewhere else? So when we're talking about what's important for the residents or people who use the beach, they should come first. And unfortunately, this Oceanside really puts Oceanside before the residents first with these pre-setups. Now, this is what, in my mind, should be negotiated now with the city before there's an entry into this agreement, which has a potential 2 years plus an additional 2 years options. I guess that's my time.
Thank you.
James McGarry, 1442 Southeast 6th Street. Why you're not getting complaints is because those beach chairs are set up first thing in the morning from the north side to the south side. You drive down down along the beach, you will see them all set up. And when people go to rent it, they're under the impression they're renting it from Deerfield Beach. They are under the impression that it's being presented by Deerfield. They do not know it's a private enterprise and they are making money. And they are prearranged. They're not coming to a center and say, I need a chair, and they put it there. It's done every morning. So you're not getting complaints because the people, I think, believe, oh, this is Deerfield Beach. And that's why it is what it is. And it's terrible. And I've been here a resident a long time. And when they say, well, there's a little bit out there, they're all put up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Maria Brandwine, and I live at 191 Southeast 20th Avenue. That's A1A. My husband and I have been residents of Florida here for over 30 years, and we've been at our current address for 2 years. We have a condo, and we directly face the ocean. We're right on A1A, and I look directly over the main beach parking lot. Also, I just renewed my annual membership with Oceanside Beach Rentals. I do want to say, there's a couple of things I want to clarify. Yes, that gentleman and the other people who have spoken are correct. There are chairs set up first thing in the morning. The Oceanside staff gets there, and they have to get there early to set them up because all of a sudden people start arriving in droves. So you're going to get 20, 30 people coming, and they have 1 or 2 staff members per area. So you saw the highlighted, I don't know if you can put it back up, the highlighted blue areas. I understand, and Commissioner Preston, you probably get the impression, maybe all of you do or not, that those highlighted blue areas with the beach chairs, every single chair you see in there is an Oceanside Beach Service chair. That is not true. What they do, if you can picture that area, and there are lines, say going from 10 feet from where the grass turns into the sand, okay? There's a line that goes there, perpendicular to the water, or excuse me, parallel to the water. Then maybe 20 feet down, closer to the water, there's another line that goes. In between those 20 or 30 feet of those two lines, people can put their chairs there. And in between the chairs, say there's one setup here and the next setup is where these gentlemen are sitting. Okay, people can put their chairs. You say we don't think of the residents. We are residents and we live there as well. And we've chosen to get this service. Sure, I'd like it for free, but it's very convenient. I don't need to give you the reasons why, because you all approve the contracts. It is necessary, but it's not that there are just tourists coming in and sitting there. There are Deerfield Beach residents who have purchased these chairs and continue to purchase these chairs. Also, and I know this for the fact because about a month and a half ago, I was talking to the gentleman who sets up my chairs there. And I said, you know, I'd really love to sit closer to the water. Is there any way we can get a setup down by the beach, close to the water? He said, no, we're not allowed to do that. We never set up there. They do not set up 10 feet from the water line. They set up farther back than that. I don't work for Oceanside or, you know, the beach rental service. I don't work for them. I'm just a resident. So I have no reason to lie about it. I'm just telling you what has been my experience. I have heard recently, just through rumor, I haven't talked to anybody who's complained about it. I have heard that some people have complained about it. But I can tell you, I haven't seen anybody being bullied. I have seen,
you
may I
like
have
one
one
more
more
minute?
minute? Thank you. I have seen certain people get their nose out of joint a little bit if they can't, you know, they want to move, they're trying to move the Oceanside beach rental chairs out of the way because maybe they have a party of 10 who all want to sit together and the beach is crowded that day. That happens everywhere. That happens in New York at Jones Beach. It happens at every beach I've ever been on. But that's just a clarification I wanted to give you for, you know, my experience that it's been there. And I've been coming to Deerfield Beach since 1985. So, you know, I'm used to the beach. Anyway, thank you. And
Thank you.
My name's Dan Radisson. I live at 116 Southeast 20th Avenue here in Deerfield. I just want to plug this, guys. I mean, these guys,
Just talk to us.
these guys are amazing. I mean, they work so hard. They're so respectful. They got a great attitude. I think they give a great service. These umbrellas they put in are safe. They're secure. They're not the cheapo umbrellas that everybody's trying to put down there. The wind blows and all of a sudden umbrellas flying at you. They're not that close to the water because when you rent their chairs, which I've for 2 years, I've always go to these guys' chairs. There's 3 more groups of lines of people before the water. So I don't see a problem with it. I hope we keep it. It's a good deal.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Neil Janov, and I'm the oddball out, not a resident of Deerfield Beach. I am a resident of Western Boca Raton. My fiance Maggie and I have Deerfield Beach, Boca Raton, Delray Beach, any one of those 3 and up and down the coast for places where we can go to the beach. Why do we go to Deerfield Beach? Is it the most convenient? No. Is it because it's a good, nice, clean place to go? Yes. I have been coming to Deerfield Beach on and off since I moved to Florida 51 years ago. I've lived in Greater Boca Raton since 1981. I like Deerfield Beach. I've only been a member of Beachside for 2 years. I didn't even know it existed before then. When I didn't become a member, or should I say prior to becoming a member, and I came to Deerfield Beach, not one time after schlepping the chairs and schlepping the blankets and bringing an umbrella if I happen to own one, did I have a problem finding an area to plant myself. I urge you to renew their contract. The people that work for Oceanside do a fantastic job. I, like the previous lady, am not on their payroll. They are providing a great public service to anybody that comes to Deerfield Beach, whether they're coming from Western Boca Raton, Long Island, New York, or anywhere else. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeff Fisher, 333 North Ocean Boulevard, Deerfield Beach. I live right down on the beach at a condominium called Tierra East. There are 176 residents. The building is situated on the west side of A1A, and on the east side of A1A, we have a pool and a cabana and a private beach entrance. And I'm also the president of the board, and I've been on the board for 8 years. I can't tell you how many times, and we live on the north side of the pier, so there aren't any chairs there. Okay, so unfortunately, all of our residents have to schlep our chairs down to the beach, and we have all different ages and handicap and situations. And there are a lot of people that have come to me and said, Jeff, why can't we get on the north side of the pier some kind of service just like that? And I'm brokering really to get some kind of beach amenity service on the north side of the pier. You know, we have volleyball courts. I know it's basically a athletic beach. Some of those volleyball courts were put up without really consulting us. They're right in front of our beach. It is what it is. I'm not looking to make an issue of that, but there is plenty of room really to put some chairs down there for 176 residents that actually live at the beach, that want to use this service, and they don't have that service provided for them right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Marty McGeary. I live at 1442 Southeast 6th Street in Deerfield Beach. I've been a resident we bought our house about 35 years ago, and I retired here in 98. I think the thing is here is that our beach, from the pier to in front of the main beach parking lot and a little bit further south, where then it turns around in the curve there, we have 3/4 of a mile. We don't have 7 miles of beach like Pompano. We don't have, I don't know how many miles of beach in Boca. Most of it's private. It's a small area, okay, to serve so many people. We're 80,000 people now in our population, I believe, here in Deerfield Beach. And it is a service. It's a great service for the elderly. It's a great service to have those chairs available for families with babies and young children. They don't have to take so many things. And I think that the problem is that the chairs are, whatever the number of chairs there are, they're all set up, whether they're used or they're not used. And if they're not used and paid for that day, that takes up the space that somebody else can be there. So is it necessary to put them all? If you go up there Sunday morning, we always ride up there along the beach and see if the water's, if it's rough or whatever, so on and so forth. And it's now a sea of chairs from the pier in front of the main beach parking lot, okay? It's just whether they're used or they're not used. So I don't know what the real answer is, but it seems to me that there could be some kind of a compromise that if those chairs are already paid for the year or the month or whatever, they could be set up first. Those people like those chairs, that's fine. But do they have to set up the whole total number? And maybe some of their numbers could we could open up that area in front of Tiara East. Do they own? I don't know. Maybe they own to the high water line. I don't know what they own there. But it just seems like there's just it's a little beach. It doesn't go very far. And when you look out and you ride down along there now, you hardly see the ocean now. You see the beach chairs, the backs of the beach chairs and the umbrellas. And so I think that's just the concern is, those chairs that are paid for the month and the year or whatever, they should be set up. I mean, those that are not daily paid for, maybe only a few, maybe 50 of those can be not put up right away. I understand that. So just remember, there's only so much stuff you can place in there and put in there. And it's for the public. It's for the public, whether you live in the condo or whether you live, west all the way to Power Line. They're coming to the beach. Okay. So that's all. Just a personal concern for the public, really. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Joe Angel at 602 Southeast 7th Avenue, Deerfield. I wasn't coming here to talk about this subject, but just want to contribute with my opinion since I've been here for my partner and I for over 3 years, and we moved to Deerfield Beach after retirement and to be able to enjoy the beach. And we go there quite often, and we really appreciate it. We enjoy the city parking there and take advantage of that. And just wanted to say that being there during the weekends and weekdays, never, ever observed any issue or conflict, or we bring our own chairs and umbrella. And we never saw any issue with the setup from this company, which I'm not associated with at all. But I just want to say this in honor to the reality that as a resident, we experienced there. Never had any problem, never seen a conflict with anybody complaining about, of course, it gets crowded, but people just gets more concentrated in other areas. If not, they move somewhere else. But there's always place to sit up chairs and umbrella there. They've never seen any problem. So I just want to contribute with this view of the situation, if that is any help.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, I'm Robin Poto. I live at 191 Southeast Ocean Drive, which is right across the street from the beach. And I am here full-time now, 5 years, retired with my husband. And we came to Deerfield Beach because it is a beautiful beach and a lovely little town. And I think the beach is one of the best things we have going for it. I think Oceanside is one of the best things the beach has going for it. I love not having to drag a chair and all the stuff, that umbrellas and stuff that go with it. And having that luxury, and it is a luxury, and I know that not everybody wants it, but that's the choice. But there are people besides myself that come to the beach and sit next to me without the chairs, right next to me with their own chairs and their own umbrellas and their own blankets. They're my friends. They don't rent from them, but they sit with us. And they're treated politely by Oceanside. They say good morning. They know those people's names too. It's a family. And we're not the only people with chairs down there. The people who don't take Oceanside chairs wind up bringing their own chairs and their own umbrellas and their own blankets and sometimes their own cabanas. So the beach is crowded with lots of umbrellas and people and chairs. And that's what it's supposed to be. It's a beach. It's for fun. It's for everybody. Oceanside does bring a line of chairs, as they were trying to describe. It's very orderly. It actually looks very inviting and pretty. It's not disruptive. And then as the beach gets crowded, there's a lot of other chairs, other people's chairs and umbrellas, and it gets extremely crowded. Oceanside kind of just blends in at that point. And you only know them because their color is blue. And other people sometimes look like their chairs and umbrellas too because they're blue. It's a beautiful service. The people who work there work hard. They're polite. They're respectable. And I would really hate to see them go. They deserve to be there. And as a resident, I think I deserve the service. And I think if you don't want the service, you just don't get the service. And we all just enjoy it together. Thank you.
Dan Hers, 330 Southeast 19th Avenue. There are so many unanswered questions based on the minimal information provided in the backup. Here are some of them. Per the August 1st, 2022 letter between the city manager and the president of Oceanside, Oceanside started servicing the area behind the Embassy Suites. They did all this without paying the city any extra money. How could the city manager, who was previously the city's procurement manager, change the scope of the contract with just a letter? Oceanside added setups with no change to the contract value. How is this legal? The current written agreement between the city of Deerfield Beach and the beach vendor Oceanside states, each of the 5 setup areas defined and illustrated herein shall be restricted to 25 setups. So under what authority was Oceanside allowed to go to as many as 50 setups per zone under the existing contract? I saw the setups far exceeding 25 in Zone 1 just this last Sunday, 2 days ago. Oceanside just signed a new contract on February 15, 2024 with Delray Beach for 5 years. They are allowed 400 setups and are paying Delray Beach $457,000 annually, or $1,143 per setup. Oceanside is paying Deerfield Beach only $701 per setup. Why the lower amount per setup to Deerfield Beach? The difference in favor of Delray Beach is a jaw-dropping 63%. And don't forget, Deerfield Beach is an award-winning blue wave beach. Why is Oceanside allowed to put out so many setups at the beginning of the day that they will never use? This last Sunday at 1 p.m., I took a walk between lifeguard stations 3 and 6 and observed firsthand Oceanside's setup and usage. I found Oceanside had 68 setups, all in one straight line, and 27 were in use, a 40% usage rate. There are numerous examples on social media, which is constantly being monitored by the city's public relations department, of residents being bullied by Oceanside and asked forcefully to move. The existing contract called for periodic consumer price index CPI increases in the monthly concession fee paid to the city by Oceanside. May I have 1 more minute? Sure. I could not find proof that the city got increased revenue from Oceanside during the current contract for CPI. Why has the number of setups allowed to more than double from the last contract, but the minimum concession fee only increases by 47%? Who negotiates these awful deals for the taxpayers? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I'm Ellen Bogdanoff, and I represent Oceanside. And I'm here mostly to answer any of the questions you might have, but I'd like to set the record straight on a couple of things that were said. We work very closely with the city Ocean Rescue, and we've had a wonderful relationship, and we want to thank you. We started with Deerfield Beach in 2010. We've not really received any complaints. I mean, maybe, probably since 2010, a couple, and we immediately address them. We have great communication, especially with those that are on the beach. And if there's an issue, we fix it right away. With respect, I don't understand the math of the last speaker, because actually Delray Beach,
I'm sorry. Are you shouting out from the audience? You insult yourself every time you open your mouth, like right now. So please keep your mouth shut, or you're going to ask to be removed. Someone else is speaking.
Thank you. The Delray Beach is about a little over $1,100 per setup, and actually Deerfield Beach gets $1,600. So you get significantly more. It's actually a very good deal. Whatever you negotiated, you did a good job. You got a great deal. We set up, and I have a picture.
Can you say that again one more time? Go back to the numbers again?
Oh,
Well, I think she's off a little bit. I'm gonna be honest with you, because we have 6 setups, 25 apiece. And I'll be happy to recap this at the end.
That's fine. Go ahead. I'm
Okay.
so sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. That's okay. In terms of, I have pictures, and I'm happy to come to anybody's office and share with you. We do drones and everything like that, so you can see, and it's one line. I mean, we have the area that Ocean Rescue says we have to leave open, so we don't touch that area. And then we put up a line of chairs, which is part of the contract with the city. And then the entire front is for the public. We don't bully people. I mean, that's not really good for business. And the people that we're serving are not only the tourists that come to enjoy your beach, it's your residents. And we do have a resident rate. We give the residents discounts for an annual package. And I think you have some of those folks here today. And I couldn't have said anything better myself than some of the things that they've talked about. You do get paid on gross revenue. So whatever additions the city manager has the ability to make, you're going to get the revenue because it's on gross revenue. There's the minimum of 200,000, but you're going to get gross revenue. So if we have more chairs, you're going to get more money. The only other thing is we start out with the 25 set up per zone. And on demand, the city manager has said, sure, because I can imagine what your emails will look like if we have to say to a resident, sorry, the city says we can't give you a chair because we've maxed out at 25. So it's really a service to your residents that if they come, the chairs are full, and very often, like Memorial Day weekend, I'm sure they're going to be packed and they're going to be full if it's not raining. We're going to have additional chairs out there because the demand is there. And I would assume that the city would want us to do that. I'm here to answer any questions, and individually, if you'd like to, set up a meeting, I'm happy to come in and kind of go over all of the issues you have.
Thank you.
Hi, Sandy Coimas, 602 Southeast 8th Avenue, Deerfield Beach. And I've been going to the beach since the 1960s in New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, North Carolina, and Florida. And actually worked at one point where my office was literally on the beach. And as far as setting up the chairs first thing in the morning, that's standard operating procedure for this kind of operation. And I am a client of Oceanside, and we've signed up for the 3rd year. And it's really a convenience. We love it. My wife really appreciates it. And as far as the notion of having the guys come out and set up chairs on a busy day when they're just trying to track who's in what chair and that kind of thing, it would just be impossible. So I just like to say that they provide an excellent service to the residents of Deerfield Beach. And they are very courteous, and they're actually a real positive influence on what happens on the beach, I would have to say. And I would really encourage you to continue their contract. Thank you, and good evening.
Katie Freitag, 418 Southeast 2nd Street. A contract's a contract. And if you are contracted to put a certain number of chairs up, that is your contract. You should not be, well, it's a little busier, so we'll put up more chairs. No, that's actually, if it's a little busier, that means there are more people coming to the beach from the city, and they have the right to bring their own chairs and tents and things like that to put up. I want to know who's regulating it, who's mandating the number of chairs that are being used, who's actually keeping an eye on that. You have the lifeguards doing it when they're supposed to be watching the people in the water. You have BSOs, citizens on patrol coming by and counting the chairs. Who's doing that? Just want to know. If you sign a contract, that is exactly what you should do. You shouldn't be saying, well, it's a good day. I think we'll put up some extra ones and take up more space of the other residents that are there with our own chairs, because we actually have to ride our bikes over there with our own chairs because there's no parking. That's another story.
Anyone else? Nope. Colleen, if you could give us your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Mary Acito, and I'm here with Colleen Lewis, and we both reside in West Boca. We are not residents of Deerfield Beach. but we are members of Oceanside Beach Service. I grew up on the New Jersey shore, and all I can say about these setups here is that they do set up according to the weather. They're very cognizant of the safety and the well-being of their clients. They are based on the knowledge of the season and the clients that and members that they have. There's plenty of beach demarcated because they cannot set up beyond certain areas. I believe the map, unfortunately, is not very accurate. At the end of the day, when they're cleaning up their setups, they're also cleaning up the trash that's left behind by the residents and the vacationers. They're very courteous. They're very professional. And I really wish you would renew their contract. And that's all I have to say.
Yes, and we could go to Boca Beach and pay much less for parking, but we love Deerfield. There's a whole group of women that always come down there. We use the beach service, and we're giving a lot of money to your local restaurants and shops down there because we're always eating and having lunch and having brunch down there. So the chair service is great, especially when we have to park far away because I don't want to carry chairs and umbrellas anymore. So the service is wonderful for us.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Coswell, go right ahead.
I live in Coconut Creek. I do use Deerfield Beach. My husband and I, due to health issues, about 5 years ago, we realized it was too difficult to carry our umbrellas and our chairs, and we were going to lose the ability to use the beach. So one day we decided to do a one-day rental on the chairs, and it was like heaven. And the people who work there were so wonderful and helpful and kind and nice that we then purchased, even though we're snowbirds, we purchased a full year-round membership for 5 years now. We've been doing it, even though we don't get to use them in the summer. And of course, we also, like the other woman said, we use all the restaurants because we're not carrying food or coolers. And the chairs are set so far back. There is so much room in front. The chairs do not take up as much footprint as everyone who comes with their cabanas and tents and chairs and umbrellas and set up. And they set up in front of us in the chairs. And sometimes my husband and I say, oh my gosh, we don't have a view of the ocean at all. We just have a view of a sea of people in front of us. So I feel I'm at a disadvantage actually sitting in those chairs. I have never seen any bullying. I have never seen anybody make any complaints about anything going on at the beach. And truthfully, when some people sit in those chairs and think that they can get away with it, the employees come over and they are so kind. They explain about the service. They explain the cost. And some people end up saying, okay, I'll pay 4 hours. And other people get up and then they sit down. I've never seen them ever have a problem with people sitting anywhere. So I would be unable to use the beach anymore if the service was taken away. There is no way with our, we love the handicapped access that we have at the beach. And there's no way we could do that anymore if those chairs, if you don't go ahead with Ocean Beach. And once again, the employees, they know me by name. They come and greet us. They are so friendly and nice and kind. Please rethink what you're doing and come down for a day. Come to the beach. See it for yourself. From some of the commissioner's questions, I don't think you've ever been down there. Thank you.
Thank you. Donna B.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Donna Biazzi. I moved to Florida from New Jersey in 1994 with my husband and our two small
Ms.
children.
Biazzi, can you give us your address for the record, please?
Sure. I actually live in Hillsborough Beach, 1228 Hillsborough Mile. And from 1994 until 2021, we actually lived in Boca and drove to Deerfield Beach and used our own chairs for 20 something years and loved Deerfield Beach. Although we could have gotten a city pass, we chose to come to Deerfield. It was most like New Jersey. In 2021, we moved to Hillsborough Beach. We literally live 3 buildings down from the Embassy Suites. And all the time we used our own chairs. Moving across the street, we walked over by Embassy Suites and purchased the annual rental service. And it has been a game changer. It's beautiful. The staff that work there are ultra polite. Everything is, as many of the other residents and speakers alluded to, the concern is for safety. They check the wind, the umbrellas go down. I spent probably 13 hours there last 4th of July. The beach is about as crowded as you can get. There were plenty of chair service people, but tons of people with their own umbrellas, own tents, own chairs. There was plenty of room for everyone. This past Sunday, we were at the beach Saturday and Sunday for about 6 hours each. There were multiple tents literally in front of me, next to me, because we were on the end. And I don't ever see a problem. I think it's a wonderful thing that resembles the beach areas in New Jersey. I think they provide an amazing service. Being an annual resident here, we live here 12 months a year. The workers are extremely polite. They know everyone's name. There's never any bullying. Similarly, they go to each person, tell them what the lay of the land is, what the rules are, ask them to clean up after themselves. I can tell you I've seen multiple people with their own chairs not clean up and watch them clean up. They're timely, they're respectful, they're safe. And for people like us and others who have alluded as residents that they enjoy it, please, I'm asking you to continue the service, and also hope you come down and take a look for yourself. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? Oh, iPad 9, frequent flyer. iPad
Yeah,
9.
my name is Gene Szynski. I live at 136 Oak Ridge J in Deerfield Beach. I've lived here for 3 years. I've used the service down there with my girlfriend. I buy it every year. I just signed up for 2 years. Richie and his boys are so professional and courteous to everybody. The problem is down there is some of these big tents that people bring to the beaches, and they block the view of the people who pay or other people who want to see the ocean. That's one of the problems. And, you know, I'm going to continue to use these fellas and the service. And all you got to do is turn on the YouTube in the morning to the Deerfield Beach, and you see how they set up everything. It's professional. They don't put out too many chairs. Richie knows how many chairs to put up according to the weather conditions and whatever, the holidays or whatever. And there's no bullying going on down there. You know, the only problem is parking. You know, you get there, everybody loves the beach. You know, you gotta, you know, I'm from New York City. You gotta drive around, and it's like being back in New York to get a space. But I'm happy with that. But please keep these guys. And that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? No other states want to call in? Anyone else? I'm all for it. It's okay. Except for North Carolina, it makes no sense. Okay, we'll close it to the public then. Mr. City Manager, can you answer some of the questions that popped up regarding it?
Yes, Mayor, I'd be happy to. I first want to, I'll start from the beginning. Mr. Connick, I want to thank you for taking my call today. I think it was helpful as it relates to being able to kind of walk you through the issues that you brought up, and I thank you for your time. And although, of course, we didn't necessarily agree on everything, I'm more than happy and always will be happy to provide you with any information that you need when you call. And I encourage other residents to do the same. So let me see where I should start. The City Commission received a lot of feedback, obviously both positive and negative, regarding the beach chair umbrellas. But as it relates to specific questions that were asked, I'll start with I believe it was referred to as the August 1st letter, where I added to the scope of services with no revenue. That was actually addressed in the presentation. I'm not sure if it was viewed there or recognized there, but in the current contract and in this contract, and as I stated, I think in 3 other occasions throughout this item, I have the ability to add, delete, increase, retract, move the beach amenities. And that's what that was right there is we worked with the vendor. And I said that twice, I think, as a matter of fact, that there was 2 changes that were made in the current contract. One was moving the chairs off the Wyndham property, and the other one was to add beach chairs or add our contractor down at the Embassy Suites. The reason why there wasn't any increase to the contract, one is because the Wyndham move was not an increase, it was a move. And then, of course, as you heard from our Director of Parks and Recreation, we've actually seen an increase over the past year or two, getting us above the minimum, which was, I think, around 138,000. And we've been receiving more of that. So again, and I think Ms. Bogdanoff talked about that too. What we're talking about here at the end of the day is a minimum with a 70-30 split. So you go above the minimum, you get more. And that's exactly what's occurring. So if you add more chairs or you add more umbrellas, and you're already exceeding that minimum revenue, then there's nothing to really negotiate because it's already baked into the contract. There was a question related to a count done by one of the constituents in the audience as relates to how many were in each setup. I really couldn't tell you. I wasn't there to count them myself. But there was, I think we have addressed that with the commissions, that we have a number of setups that they're allowed to start with. And yes, if they do reach capacity and they are asked for a chair, in my view, and if the commission wants to go in a different direction, and please let me know, but if a resident or a visitor wants an additional setup and they're already at 25 in that given section, I don't necessarily have an issue with that. So long as they're not monopolizing the beach and putting out more than what they're allowed to start off with. And I think we heard several residents today speak to the fact that they don't necessarily have seen a condition where there hasn't been the ability for other residents who are not taking advantage of the beach amenity to find a place to stay. I know that I cut Ms. Bogdanoff off just briefly, and she had mentioned the numbers. And the total actually is 150 setups for the city of Deerfield Beach in this contract, because you have 5, right, on the north side, 25 each, and then you have the 6th one down by Embassy Suites at 25. So that's 150, all right? And I think if we're going to do a comparative analysis of the 2 contracts between the city of Deerfield Beach and the city of Delray, let's use contractual costs. Let's start there. City of Delray Beach, if you look at the bid documents that they put out, and I think if I'm incorrect, just let me know, Ms. Bogdanoff, the setups that Delray Beach is allowed to have is 350, not 400. And actually, the 400 number would have worked better in Mr. Hurd's favor, but that's actually not true. It's 350. And it's 300 in one area of their beach and 50 in another area of their beach. And they do get 457,000 annually as their minimum guarantee. So they have a minimum guarantee. And in fact, I want you to know that Delray Beach and Deerfield Beach have been trading scopes of services on this contract for a very long time. We put in penalties in our contract many, many years ago. If they were to, if they were to exceed the 25 setups and they don't, correct themselves, and then Delray did the same thing. So there's mechanisms in there to control the contract as well. But in any case, if you look at Delray Beach, they're actually getting $1,305 per setup on a contractual basis based off their minimum annual revenue. City of Deerfield Beach, ours, again, we increased it this year to 200, and with the 150 setups, that's $1,333 a setup. So we are doing pretty well with that. We're doing, we're in the market. We're doing better than Delray Beach, but the per cost setup is a little better than Delray Beach. So again, there was this kind of a related question, but why didn't we increase the CPI? I think Mr. Warner addressed that in a different way, but not directly, to say that we have seen increases in our revenues over the years above the minimum. As for who regulates the contract, we have a waterfront manager and assistant manager, and they go out and they will do counts. We also have not our lifeguards who are watching the beach, but our ocean rescue captains and lieutenants. They will watch for that as well. They all have, all the staff down there at the beach have great relationships with Oceanside, and I think that addresses all the questions and any additional questions that the commission may have for me.
Thank you very much. I think that addresses everything. So they have the ability to expand based on demand.
That's correct.
Okay, so if they have 60 set up in a zone that's scheduled for 25 and they're not occupied, that would be anticipating demand, or why would they do that?
No, that would be, they can start with 25. If they fill the capacity of the 25 and somebody walks up and says, hey, we'd like a cabana setup, then they've been allowed to go beyond the 25.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Preston?
I'm convinced that that the customer service, which I'm very concerned about, is customer service and what they do. But I'm also concerned about the residents. I think it would be wrong for me, I'm just speaking for myself, to vote no against them based on the fact that there are some concerns. But for people to come here and suggest that there are no concerns other than the fact that this is a good service for you, but we still have residents and there are some issues. So you don't want, and a lady says, I don't think you guys have come down there, and I hope you're still on, ma'am, because I do frequent the beach. So I'm one of the guys that do. So you're out of order with that.
I think she was talking about me.
Okay. So, but I think it's important to recognize that there are some differences, and how those differences are resolved, but I just don't think it's the right thing to just say no because those differences exist. However, I want to say to Oceanside, the residence is very important to everybody up here. I'm very concerned about our residents and how they are treated. I don't think anybody, I was the one that suggested that there's a potential for bullying. And I'm not saying that there is, but the potential lies there, because if you set up, if the chair is already set up and I go to the beach, I will automatically assume that that's occupied space. I just would assume, and I would assume that maybe I should go somewhere else. Here's the other side of it. If they exceed their capacity, there is potential now, because a person comes up and say, hey, I'd like to get a setup because they're exceeding their capacity. They're growing in their business, which means there's less space for residents. That's what that means overall. So there could be challenges there, okay? And so if you get 20 people come up and say, hey, I need a setup because they've exceeded it, well, guess what? That's 20 less pieces of space for our residents. So there's some things that needs to be talked about. The conversation needs to be had. conversation should be had. Because it doesn't mean that because everybody says, I use the service, mean that everything is okay. Doesn't mean that at all. Okay? And that unless we talk about these things, that means that nothing can be resolved. But I think that the service they provide, obviously, is that I think that they do good in what they do. That's demonstrated by the comments. But I will tell you, it doesn't mean that everything is balanced and we're without any issues in looking at this situation.
Commissioner Hudak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I want to thank the public for coming on out. You know, we talk about a lot of important issues and the place is empty. Not that this isn't an important issue, but it's an issue that's obviously near and dear to a lot of people. And as has been stated, a lot of our residents actually do use this service. So it's not exclusive to tourists. There are residents that do use, and some of them actually need the service. So yeah, I've been enlightened by that as well, because my initial thought is well, you know, our residents collect all our stuff down there, and you know, just the people who are here on vacation are the ones that are utilizing chairs, when it's fairly obvious that that is not the case. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and make an motion to approve this item.
Okay, we'll hold your motion. We have a motion for approval. Any other comments from staff or, excuse me, commission? Vice Mayor, any comments?
No, I think the public.
Okay. I just want to make sure, because the only reason I'm asking that, the reason I'm delaying it is because it's going to take 4 votes to approve this right here. Let's keep this in mind. This is an amenity that we are offering to the residents and to visitors, whoever wants to use it. We tried to do it as a city before. We did it as a city, and somehow we managed to lose money on it. Don't ask me how. Look up Mr. Disher, ask him why they lost money on it, but they promised us revenue that never existed. So we've gone with this. We've been operating this for years. We have the ability, based on demand, to go there. I would not assume that just because that seat is taken up, that it's not a Deerfield Beach residence. I think we've heard from a lot of residents who participate in this program. I don't know of any program offering amenity that we have in the city that is not complaint-free. Nothing that we have is perfect, and I have yet to find anything in this city that everyone would agree on. So I think let's all operate with the assumption that that is the case. Nothing's perfect. Not everything's going to be great. You know, number of complaints. I haven't received any complaints. There might have been some over the years, might have even been different vendors, but I'm sure there are issues. It is bad for business to be bullying. Doesn't mean it doesn't happen. Doesn't mean you might have one bad employee who does something stupid. Every company has that. If you're worried about the visual pollution of the setup on it, I get that. I totally get that, the visual pollution when you look at it. But here's the other way to look at it. Someone comes to a beach, and I think we're all anti-schlepping. I think that's pretty much been the feel, is everybody's anti-schlepping. So for the schleppers who walk up and don't want to be carrying all this stuff, they're going to look, and if they don't see a setup, they're going to assume there aren't any available. If you don't see one available, if anybody been on vacation or anywhere like that, you go to a crowded beach and there's amenities, and if there's not one setup, you're assuming that they're all gone. Very rarely, I would think, that people are going to take the initiative to go find the person running and say, hey, do you have any more you could set up? I don't think that happens a lot. I do think you need to thread the needle to make sure that we don't have overkill on it. That makes sense to me. But, you know, having a bunch of beach chairs set up, to me, isn't a bad thing. There's a lot worse stuff that I've seen set up on the beach by residents. Okay. Beach chair, I'm pretty cool with that. And for those of you who don't want to pay the money for it, or who don't want to do it, resident, non-resident, come on, it's okay. That's your choice. That's your option. You have limited areas. They have limited areas where they can set up. You can set up, and like I said, block their view in many ways. But this should be a simple thing. I appreciate all the input on it. I understand some of the issues. I think we've clarified some of the misrepresentations or confusion perhaps on some of the numbers. But a couple things I just want to make sure, and this is really more of a message to this. First off, what's our other option? We go to the second vendor. What did that other second vendor submit to us? We didn't have one, did
They
we?
didn't, Mayor.
Okay, we didn't have one. All right, so we don't have an option. Either you want the amenity or you don't want the amenity. There you go. Put it out to bid again and hope that somebody comes around for it. We have an operator that's doing a good job, and we've gotten enough people to say that they are. I'm sure you'll find some people that say that they're unhappy with something. Trust me, the sky was too blue that day. I have no doubt that that would be a complaint that we would get, and probably on social media by certain people. But I think we need to move forward with this. It's a simple amenity that we offer. If there are complaints, we have the ability in the contract to pull back. And if those complaints come forward, that is certainly something that I hope staff does. So we have a motion. Do we have a second, or do I need to pass the gavel?
Second.
We have a second from Vice Mayor Drosky, motion by Commissioner Hudak. We have roll call, please.
Commissioner Hudak?
Yes.
Commissioner Preston?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Drosky?
Yes.
Mayor Gantz?
Yes.
Okay, we are now on item number 9. Item number 9 is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, adopting an amendment to the city budget for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2024, approving supplemental appropriations and budget transfers to and within various city funds, and reducing appropriations to the 2018 Construction Revenue Bond Fund by $7,794,885 as set forth in the attached Exhibit A, providing for conflicts, severability, and an effective date, and this is first reading.
Before we move forward, I'm going to take a 1-minute break to let everyone clear the room who wants to, because we have important issues here to talk about. So it's 9:55, come back at 9:56.5. How's that?
Okay.
Yes.
We wait, no, we need everyone.
No.
Yes, we do. Why would they not? They're smart. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Oh my goodness.
If you saw that, that's inaccurate, and the final contract will reflect the correct amount.
There you go.
Yes, sir.
These are people that are running for the election. Whatever it is. Yes, people that are running for office. The city should have. I'm sure they know about it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to reconvene. I think we have all the people we need. That was item number 9.
That's correct,
Read
Mayor.
by the city attorney. Thank you. Is there anyone from the public who care to comment on item number 9? Anyone online? Okay. And close it to the public then?
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Hudak, seconded by Vice Mayor Drosky. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hudak?
Yes.
Commissioner Preston?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Drosky?
Yes.
Mayor Gantz?
Yes.
Item number 10 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, approving the second amendment to the interlocal agreement with Broward County for community shuttle services to reflect a reduction in the hourly rate funding and the annual funding from Broward County, authorizing execution of the second amendment, providing for implementation and an effective date.
John, I got it. Thank you. Yeah, if you, any questions, I'll bring up, I promise. But I'll try to move us along. This honestly, Commission, is a consent item, but I think it's important for you to understand what this is. And this amendment to the interlocal agreement, in essence, is going to reduce the cost share that Broward County provides to the city of Deerfield Beach on a per unit basis for the community bus shuttle services that Jonathan and his staff provide so eloquently. And you can see what that reduction is. It's from $44.14 to $31.28. And so the net annual revenue that we're getting from the county goes down. Why is this significant? The first point I want to make is that when the county passed the transportation surtax, they promised to fund the community bus shuttle program. And this reduction is something that we should be aware of. The other point to make is that the reason for this reduction is because ridership is down. And it's not just down in Deerfield Beach, it's down across the county. So community bus shuttle services are being used less now than they were just a few years ago. And some of the reasons for that are attributed to various rideshare programs, Ubers, Lyfts, those sorts of things. But it's something that I want the commission to be aware of, because as we look at how we provide that service, and it's not whether, I'm not saying whether or not we provide that service, but how we provide that service, we need to look at what efficiencies we can gain in that this maybe perhaps new era of public transportation, so to speak. So we'll be looking at that because this is something that I'm concerned with. So we will keep an eye on it. But other than that, this is not, this would be an item of consent. I just want to make sure that the commission understands it.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone from the public who care to comment on this item? Close it to the public. Commission?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Preston, seconded by Commissioner Hudak. All in favor? Oh, excuse me, roll call on that, please.
Commissioner Hudak?
Yes.
Commissioner Preston?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Drosky?
Yes.
Mayor Gantz?
Item number 11 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, repealing resolution number 2020-115, adopting guidelines for community participation grant program funding administered by the Department of Community Services to charitable and public purpose nonprofit organizations servicing Deerfield Beach community, providing for conflicts and an effective date.
All right, for these next two items, they are, maybe we could read them both.
Sure, if you're going to discuss item number 12 as well. Item number 12 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, adopting policy guidelines for donation of funds administered by city departments other than Department of Community Services to charitable and public purpose nonprofit organizations serving the Deerfield Beach community, providing for conflicts, implementation, and an effective date.
Good evening, Mayor, Commission. Jonathan Salas, Director of Community Services. And these items, they coincide with one another. So item 11 is the Community Participation Grant, which is administered through the Community Services Department. And staff is making some recommendations to the program so that the program can be a little more transparent as well as manageable from a grant perspective. So some of those changes that we're making is we're looking at the funding priorities, and we added some new funding priorities where we look at education, attainable housing and sustainability, lifestyle quality, and food insecurities, as well as we're asking for a fixed budget with a minimum threshold of $2,500 per applicant and a maximum of $25,000 per applicant. So those are the main changes that we're asking for. We're looking to make these changes for the upcoming fiscal year 25 cycle of the Community Participation Grant. So what we ask Commission tonight to do is just approve these updates to the guidelines for that program. So with item number 11 having these changes to the Community Participation Grant, it triggers the next item, which is item 12, which affects our city's policy for donations. And we wanted community participation a little separate from other programs because we recognize how unique community participation is. So with that being said, item 12 is updating the policy as well to reflect other departments that deal with charitable nonprofits per se. So we have Parks and Recreation, Economic Development, as well as Public Safety. They work with charitable groups as well. So item number 12 caters to those other departments and other programs aside from community participation. So I'm asking tonight that we approve both items with the updates, which we align with the city strategic plan to make sure that the policies are more transparent and they're easily manageable at this point. Any questions?
Yes, Vice Mayor Drosky.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Jonathan. It's not a question for you. I had discussed with the city manager, before tonight that, well, first of all, this is well overdue. So, I mean, I appreciate the guidance. I mean, I remember the days being up here when it was the commission that was doing this, and we would spend an inordinate amount of time on such a small piece of the budget, but we would have these lengthy, drawn out discussions on the budget. You're talking a $200 million budget, and we just seem to get fixated on these grants over and over and over. So I think taking some of that decision making, the commission delegating some of that decision making to staff, or vetting rather, not decision making, the vetting to staff was a good first start. Because a lot of times staff is more familiar with these organizations than we are. We know a lot of them, but can't say I know all of them. And staff deals with them on a day-to-day basis. So how they interact with our city, and our residents on a day-to-day basis sometimes can be vetted better by staff. So now we're actually putting some more concrete, details into that policy going forward. My comment going forward is, is there a way to kind of consolidate either the timing or the grant programs together through the various departments? Because we have, community services, and we have those grants. And then at another meeting a couple of months later, then we'll have a grant through economic development, and then we'll have something through parks and recreation. And it gets a little hard to keep track of sometimes. It gets a little hard to keep track of because we're giving grants at different times in different amounts across the board. So if there's a way to streamline or consolidate this process, I think that'll make it easier for the commission. I think it'll make it more transparent for the residents as well as to what we're doing. So that's what I'd like to see come out of this process, if possible. Otherwise, I don't have any objection to 11 and 12. I think we need to do it, but if there's a way to do it kind of across the board, that's what I'd be looking to see.
Mayor, may I ask Thank you. This, as you said, Vice Mayor, does not address what you just asked for. But if I may maybe do a little bit of brainstorming with Director Salas and our city attorney, and we can think of ways to accomplish that for you.
That'd be great.
Mr. Salas, question regarding the audit. Is this standard, what we've come up with, this policy, similar to what other cities are doing?
Yes, this is similar to Pompano, Boynton Beach, and I want to say Wellington as well.
I just want to make sure we're not putting in something in there that is too overbearing for sometimes we outthink ourselves. And, you know, like the audit we have or anything exceeding 25,000. If that's standard operating procedure for most, I think it's a good thing to have it in there. But I want to make sure we're not putting something in there that nobody else is doing. And it's going to be difficult for them to come up with it, to provide it to us, and they miss the window in order to get money to serve our residents. So that would be my only concern with implementing a new policy. But if others are doing this, this should be, if they get money from those cities, this should be nothing different. It's a better checks and balance. I'm all for it. So thank you for the clarity.
Thank you.
Is there anyone from the public that would care to comment on item 11 and 12? Jonathan, you might step aside.
Dan Hurst, 330 Southeast 19th Avenue. And I want to apologize because maybe I wasn't listening as closely as I normally do. But if I'm wrong, please tell me as soon as I'm done, that now the maximum charitable contribution from the city to any organization is capped at $25,000 a year. And if that is correct, then if you have a situation like you had this fiscal year, when you gave the Deerfield Beach Historical Society $250,000, so then based on these new guidelines and rules, you would not be able to do that in the future. Just want to make sure I understand it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone online? We close it to the public then. I don't believe that's what it says. Is that correct, Mr. Santucci?
So the Community Participation Grant Program would be capped at a range of between $2,500 and $25,000. But the second item number 12, recognizes that we have other organizations who align with the goals and the goals and the objectives of the city in different ways outside of, you know, providing charitable assistance, if you will, to the community. And in those cases, they fall outside of the Community Participation Grant Program. So to Mr. Herr's point, those types of organizations, they don't go through the Community Participation Grant Program. They come before the City Commission for approval, though.
And that's where the audit and different things like that kick in.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying. Okay. Commission, voting on 11 and 12.
Motion to approve items 11 and 12.
We got to vote on them separately, please. So if you could start first with the motion for item 11. Thank you.
Motion for item 11.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Preston. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Item number 12.
Motion to approve item 12.
Second.
Motion from Commissioner Hudak, seconded by Commissioner Preston. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay.
We are now at comments by administration and legal. No comments from legal tonight.
I think there's some events this weekend that I'll allow the commission to bring up, and I have no comments. Thank you.
We already heard item number 13, so we are now at comments by mayor and city commission.
Okay, we'll start with District 4. Seemed unprepared.
He's extremely prepared. So prepared. I'm looking for my notes. I will leave the Saturday event to the District 2 Commissioner. I think that's only appropriate. I did want to ask the city manager that we sent Dr. Licata a letter regarding the school grades. But since he is no longer the superintendent, I assume we did not receive a response to that letter. So can we resend the letter, can we resend the letter to Dr. Hepburn and follow up for a response? That's all that I have.
I would be happy to, and I think that Dr. Licata's response was the reimagining the schools initiative.
Is that it?
That's all.
Thank you. District 3? District 2, sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to just say to my colleagues something that you may be aware of. Recently, the Florida legislative rejected $248 million for the summer food program for children, for students. Now, being that they rejected that, we have to ask ourselves the question, where are those kids? How are those kids are going to be fed? They're still going to have issues. They're still hungry. And I called the state representative on this, and I called around trying to get in contact with the state agriculture to get some ideas to what we can do. Because they rejected that money, you're still going to have a situation here with hungry children. And how do we address that? And I could get no clear answers from anyone in the state as to what we could do. But then I thought about something that we have already did, and that is community cares. So I'm going to ask the city manager to please speak with Joel Smith in community cares to see if he have any ideas about this situation that we can help out, because we're still going to have the issue. They rejected the money. The money was for free, but because of politics, they're willing to let kids be hungry. That's a shame. That's terrible, unacceptable. So maybe if you have that conversation with them, Mr. City Manager, maybe there's something that we can do to help that situation, because it's still going to come to Deerfield.
Thank you. And can you share the information about the legislation that you?
Yes, they rejected
Get that.
$248 million of federal money for the summer food program for kids. And I would also, as a part of my comments, not all of my colleagues are here tonight. Commissioner Bernie Pernez from District 3 is missing, but everybody else is here. And it's because of a collective effort of people working together to do the right thing for the city of Deerfield Beach is that we're going to have the ribbon cutting for Braithwaite Center for Active Aging this coming Saturday, 9 a.m. to 11. I asked and I urged the public to go and understand the history behind it, because there's a rich history. There's two ladies that are sitting there that knows a lot about it. There are many people who attended Braithwaite that are still alive, to understand the challenges that was there. But history will live now in perpetuity because of the people sitting here, my colleagues, of which I would like to thank each and every one of you right now. You had to take a look, and a lot of people might say, well, why are you thanking them? Not that I'm criticizing, but you don't get anything past this commission. They think about it. They challenge the situation. They do their background, and in the due diligence, they decide what is best, not for one district, but for what is best for the city. So, Commissioner Hudak, Commissioner Parnaz, Commissioner Drosky, Mayor Gantz, I thank you. And because of that, Braithwaite, which was an elementary school many years ago because of segregation, is going to now, that name will live in perpetuity. A lot of people say, who is Braithwaite? William Stanley Braithwaite. You can Google it. He was a poet and author. And our city, and I urge you to go over and take a tour. It's incredible what has happened there. And I will tell you that its director, Jonathan Salas, is doing an incredible job. But I also would like to thank the city manager and staff who has brought this to fruition. So Saturday morning at 9 o'clock will be the grand opening. It's from 9 to 11, May 11th. Okay, so this is going to be a great thing. There's a lot of politicians from the state, not that it's big, but a lot of people, when they found out about it, wanted to be a part of this. So this is a good thing. So, gentlemen, I thank you very much. Appreciate it. And looking forward to it. That's it.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Hudak?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, it's a feather in the cap for the city of Deerfield Beach. I am so honored to be part of the dais that we've made the decision to move forward with that facility. So hats off to everybody. I concur. Couple of things happening this weekend as well. Before this weekend, though, on Thursday, May 9th, right here in the City Hall Commission Chambers, we're going to be revealing the Dune Master Plan. So I'm looking forward. That's going to be here, correct? Good. I just want to make sure. So that's gonna be at 7 o'clock. So I'm hopeful that we have a lot of residents that come out and see what we're looking to do in order to preserve our beach. So I'm really looking forward to that. Also on May 15th, next week, we're gonna have our District 1 Commission meeting here at 7 o'clock. So hopefully we'll get a lot of residents out here. We'll be talking a lot of the subjects that are near and dear to District 1 residents, including Crime Watch and some of the different projects that we have going on around the city. One of the other exciting things that are happening Saturday morning, and it's also in District 2, is the Habitat for Humanity dedication. I was honored to be associated with one that happened in Pompano Beach many years ago. At the Rick K Center, I worked with one of my employers, and we helped build housing. And to watch the dedication ceremony is really, you're seeing somebody's life change. Habitat for Humanity does not give away homes. These homes they're mortgaged. It's an interest-free mortgage. The individuals who are awarded the homes have to work that. I think it's 400 sweat equity hours that they have to put in. And I'm sure there's a huge waiting list, and people wait for years in order to obtain the American dream, which is to own a home. And to see the life-changing event that happens, it's very touching. So I'm really looking forward to that on Saturday morning. And I'm so glad that we're able to participate with that here in the city of Deerfield Beach. And that's all I have for District 1 comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We did mention that Commissioner Parnas is not here tonight. We'd like to give him an excused absence. Is that something we need to do?
You could do that via motion.
All right. We'd like to,
I'll make that motion that we extend an excused absence for Commissioner Parnas.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Preston, seconded by Commissioner Hudak. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those. Okay. Just give them excused absence. He is not out of commission for tonight, literally. I want to congratulate Vice Mayor Drosky for concluding his year as the president of the Broward League of Cities and bringing the idea of innovation to Broward. It was a great run for you, and I'm sure you're glad it's over. No, I hope you're as proud of yourself as we are of you for the work that you did in representing the city of Deerfield Beach and being only the second person, I believe, the second person from the city of Deerfield Beach to hold that position. So congratulations and excellent job that you did, Vice Mayor. We talked about Braithwaite project and all of these projects, and we talked about our Pioneer Grove and everything. One of the toughest things about this job is government moves at a pace that is extraordinarily frustrating. And a lot of these seeds get planted that are going to bear results that aren't going to necessarily be ones that you're going to get to celebrate in office. This project of redoing the center started, what, 7 years ago? Is that about right? maybe longer.
Bond was from 2018.
Yeah, so if you look at the collective effort to get us all there, it really is a group effort. And it's and the most difficult thing about doing that is once you set something in motion, roles change, different people come in. I remember when we started Sullivan Park and we got a new mayor in and she wanted to kill it after we'd already spent $1.5 million of money on it. And, you know, what's a testament to this city is that when things get started like that, you make those decisions, and it's based on input from the public and everything like that. We see it through. There were people that didn't want this project. People didn't understand what the alternative. They had no idea what they were talking about. Still don't. And yes, little Sully wants to come on down. I'll get him a booster seat. We'll put him in front row. Let him think that he did something about it. But the bottom line is, I think it is a lot of the stuff that we're making decisions on. Decisions that I'm making right now, I'll be out of office by the time some of them come to fruition. I'm glad to see this. I'm glad to be here for this one. This is an important one. And everybody has had a unique hand in it. And naming it up, the Braithwaite Center is a wonderful way of preserving the legacy of that school in our city, and the history of that, and tying that in with something that serves the public in such a great way, really is something all of us should be proud of. But thank you for that, because that was a beautiful touch to it, and that's a big deal. So looking forward to having everybody there for that. And I want us to keep that in mind. The ULI did talk about how we don't know what Deerfield Beach is. We do. We kind of have an idea what it is. And I think sometimes when developers try to come in, keep in mind that the person who stated that was a developer. Yeah. What that usually means is give us what we want. And if you don't, okay, Deerfield Beach is anti-development. No, that's not what it is. Are you swatting flies? So I will say that we know what our identity is, but I think we have to maybe clarify, if we're rejecting projects or whatever it is, that we have some very clear messaging on whatever our position is, so that it doesn't get convoluted. And we see the misinformation that people put out there, sometimes intentionally, sometimes unintentionally. But let's make sure that we are whatever our stand is on something, that we're very clear and that people understand why. And so it does send a message out to the development community who wants to come forward with projects, so they have an understanding of what we're looking for. Yes, we have all the visioning that we've done over the years and the different things that we've talked about, but let's make sure that our messaging is very clear from people who sit on this dais when we cast votes. So I think that would be helpful for the city moving forward. With that, Chief, there's been a lot of crazy stuff out there in the streets. I want to thank you and your staff for what you guys have done. Really good job. Thank you very much. And Rodney, excellent job, because I've gotten some really good feedback of people who've been working with you on some things. So thank you very much. Other than that, that's it.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.